341. Late stage of Tai, the riot of the prison of sin. Kill into the branch of the blood of sin department. Half a month later, in a certain sea area, you successfully pass the 54 bolts of heavenly tribulation from the 6-9 heavenly tribulation. You have broken through to the late stage Grand Unity Golden Immortal. Afterward, you plan to make a move against the Sin Blood Office Envoy. However, before making a move, you had to find a place to hide your family fortune. Besides immortal jade and immortal artifacts, you also had a large number of rare treasures. These were all invaluable and could fetch a lot of immortal jade if sold. It's just that there was no time to deal with them now, so they were kept for future rebirth. To prevent them from being wiped out in one go, you also buried them in over a dozen different locations. The Great Firmament Immortal Slayer's sword was also buried by you. This was a great killing weapon, and it would be too regrettable if it were damaged by a Supreme Immortal. Currently, you had only equipped yourself and your 3 Tao bodies with 1 Grand Unity Immortal artifact each, you had nothing else. It felt very much like, the wind sighs, the Yi River is cold, a brave man leaves and never returns. You first sent 2 clones ahead to scout the Sin Blood Envoy's travel route and the strength of his guards. After everything was thoroughly scouted, your 3 Tao bodies began to find places to ambush. A month later, as the Sin Blood Envoy's immortal boat had just flown into the chaotic sea, it was attacked by you. The Sin Blood Office Envoy was furious, daring to lay hands on someone from the Sin Blood Division. Was he tired of living? It was only when your 3 Tao bodies swiftly dealt with his guard force that he calmed down. Although the Sin Blood Office Envoy was only an immortal golden immortal, there was no trace of panic on his face. Instead, he sneered, "It seems you came prepared." Then, he took out a dragon-shaped jade pendant and crushed it. A powerful force far exceeding that of a Grand Unity Golden Immortal erupted, instantly turning your 3 Tao bodies to ashes. However, just as he thought everything had settled, your 3 Tao bodies revived using the Blood Rebirth talent, surrounding him once again. The Sin Blood Office Envoy exclaimed in shock, "How is this possible?" This was an Ancestor Immortal strike, countering all clones and rebirth techniques. He was right, but unfortunately, the Hongmeng Dao Palace is an undying ancestral object, and the profound immortal body's talent is formed by relying on the Hongmeng Dao Palace. Only a supreme immortal can truly counter it. The Sin Blood Office Envoy had many trump cards and took out some immensely powerful talismans, destroying your Dao bodies several times. And then, he knelt down and begged for mercy. Seeing that he had finally run out of tricks, your 3 Tao bodies swarmed him, captured him, and began to search his divine soul. It turned out this person's name was Ran Mo. Besides being a Sin Blood Office Envoy, he was also the grandson of Ancestor Immortal Ran Yi from the 10,000 Beasts Palace of the Shenal Ancient Dynasty in the Ancient Chaos Land. The reason he joined the Sin Blood Division was that Ancestor Immortal Ran Yi wanted to use the Sinterant Envoy's branch to contact some 9 Heavens forces to further his own cultivation. As for why the Sin Blood Division headquarters had not sent down experts to deal with the ascended Sin Blood matter, Ranmo had occasionally heard the branch director mention it. It seemed that some Sin Blood powerful beings imprisoned in the headquarters, Sin Prison had recently rioted collectively, causing the headquarters to be too preoccupied to focus on the 10 Directions land. However, the riot had gradually subsided, which was why the headquarters had only now begun to clear out the 3 ascended Sin Bloods. You realized this when you saw this. No wonder the Sin Blood Division built its headquarters in the 9 heavens. It turned out they were also imprisoning some Sin Blood powerful beings. As for the strength of the Sin Blood Division headquarters, Ranmo only knew that Director Shu Tuo of the Sin Blood Division was a Supreme Immortal, with 3 Ancestor Immortal Realm Deputy Directors and hundreds of Golden Immortals. Beyond that, whether there were any hidden experts was unknown. The strength of the Sin Blood Division headquarters seemed to be even weaker than you imagined. In the last simulation, they could even send a Supreme Immortal to kill you, making you think the Sin Blood Division had dozens of Supreme Immortals. Now it seemed that Supreme Immortals were not common at all. The one who killed you in the last simulation was actually the director of the Sin Blood Division headquarters. You originally thought this was the final big boss you'd only meet at the end, but you didn't expect to have already encountered him. For you, this was a good thing. After all, you're not afraid of a strong boss, only a boss whose health bar isn't visible. However, why would the Sin Blood experts imprisoned at the headquarters choose to riot at this particular time? This timing happened to coincide with the period when a large number of heaven-defying individuals appeared in the 8 Sin Blood planes of the lower realm. You wouldn't believe it even if you were beaten to death if someone said there was no connection between the two. Just as your Tao body was halfway through searching Ran Mo's divine soul, a heart-palpitating force suddenly erupted from Ran Mo's divine soul, shattering your 3 Tao bodies into dust. Your Tao bodies realized before their demise that this was an attack launched from afar by someone using Ran Mo's divine soul as a medium. The person who made the move should be Ran Mo's grandfather, ancestor Immortal Ran Yi. However, even if he personally made a move, your Tao bodies could still revive through blood rebirth. Afterward, you similarly shattered his grandson into dust. His grandson, Ran Mo, did not have the blood rebirth talent, so this time he was truly dead. You vaguely heard a roar but paid it no mind. With the Sin Blood Division as a major enemy before you, the threat of an ancestor immortal seemed to be nothing much. Since you knew that the Sin Blood Division headquarters was about to fully clear out the 3 Sin Bloods who had smuggled themselves into the immortal realm, you certainly wouldn't sit idly by. If a supreme immortal made a move, you would surely die. Being an ostrich wouldn't work, you might as well go big before you die. You decided to destroy the Sinterant Envoy's branch as a Sin Blood. This way, you could collect some interest from the Sin Blood Division, expand your reputation, and harvest more sentient power, allowing you to revive faster and strengthen your power. With this thought, you no longer hesitated, commanding the Grand Unity Immortal artifact obtained from the Yellow Court Immortal Mansion, the Dragon Whale boat, and headed towards the Sinterant Envoy's branch. The Sinterant Envoy's branch is located in the ungoverned area, Sinterant Mountain, adjacent to the Yuanding Immortal Dynasty. Previously, after you broke through to Immortal Golden Immortal, it took you several decades to travel from the Yuanding Immortal Dynasty to the Chaotic Sea. Now that you have broken through to Grand Unity Golden Immortal, your speed is more than 20 times faster, and it only took 2 or 3 years to arrive at the Yuanding Immortal Dynasty again. Upon arriving at the Yuanding Immortal Dynasty, you did not stop but went straight to Sinterant Mountain. With the memories of Ran Mo, a high-ranking official, you knew everything about Sinterant Mountain like the back of your hand. You first spent several days allowing your 3 Tao bodies to infiltrate the Sinterant Envoy's branch, then launched a simultaneous attack, destroying various defensive and offensive arrays of Sinterant Mountain. These arrays were set up by experts from the headquarters and posed a certain threat even to ancestor immortals. Without these arrays, the Sinterant Envoy's branch was like a toothless tiger, subjected to a bloody massacre by your 3 Tao bodies. The branch director, 5 Prisons Golden Immortal, had been overwhelmed these past few years by the death of Ran Mo and the matter of the smuggled Sin Blood. The culprit hadn't even been found yet, and now someone had come knocking on their door. 342. Fame soars, 500 years later. 13 turns of Hunyuan Immortal Body, Infinite Enlightenment. The Sinterant Envoy's branch is, after all, a branch of a 9 heavens power, so even an ancestor immortal would have to show some respect. Who is this person, daring to cause trouble for it? 5 Prisons Golden Immortal arrived before your Tao body and asked who you were. You laughed heartily. Lu Changsheng of the Blood Character Domain, I invite you all on your way. The 5 Prisons Golden Immortal's expression changed drastically. In just a few hundred years, the Sin Blood who smuggled themselves from the lower realm have become Grand Unity Golden Immortal. What a joke. Even if your luck is heaven-defying, it shouldn't be heaven-defying in this way. The 5 Prisons Golden Immortal wanted to escape, but under your 3 Tao bodies, each capable of being called invincible in the Grand Unity realm, he simply had no such chance. Before he died, you told him that you were also the one who killed Golden Immortal Ran Mo, and then you decapitated him with a single sword strike. The Sinterant Envoy's branch had a total of over 1,400 members, and if servants were included, the number exceeded 10,000. However, whether they were official members or servants, you didn't let a single one go, slaughtering them until blood flowed like rivers. Afterward, you even nailed the bodies of the official members, including the 5 Prisons Golden Immortal, to the stone wall. They were densely packed, a truly spectacular sight. You then destroyed all cross-realm teleportation arrays and adjusted all immortal gates of the Sin Blood plane to random ascension. They would no longer ascend to the cage built by the Sin Blood division. After completing all of this, you quickly rushed to the Yuanding Immortal Dynasty, widely publicizing your actions. To spread your name faster, you even killed Emperor Yuan Shuan of Yuanding and annihilated the imperial family, forcing the Yuanding Immortal Dynasty to go all out and help you promote yourself. Under your tireless promotion, the news of your destruction of the Sinterant Envoy's branch reverberated through the ancient chaos land like a sudden clap of thunder. A sin blood from the lower realm destroying a Sintarant envoy's branch sounded incredibly unbelievable. Your great name, Lu Changsheng, became the focus of the world, and all cultivators paid attention. Even Ancestor Immortal Ranyi rarely came to trouble you. He was also afraid that some powerful magnates were playing a game behind the scenes and dared not get involved. The Sin Blood Division headquarters in the Nine Heavens was also stunned. They let the branch manage a few lower realms, but how did it end up getting itself killed? Immediately, the headquarters also realized that this person should be the important figure from the fourth heaven, the Sin Blood prophesied to bring chaos to the immortal realm. 3 months later, Su Tuo, the head of the Sin Blood Division, personally descended and annihilated your main body. You died. Your consciousness once again plunged into darkness. However, because your reputation in the immortal realm was immense and you possessed a vast amount of sentient thought power, this time you only felt a very short time pass before you left the darkness. When you revived, you found yourself outside a small city in the Fengsha ancient dynasty of the ancient Chaos Land. After inquiring, you learned that it was now 500 years later. Your first revival took 10,000 years, and your second revival took 3,000 years, so these 500 years were indeed extremely short in comparison. However, information in the small city was isolated, making it difficult for you to gather other news. You spent another half a day to reach a large city, and this time you finally found out news about the Sin Blood Division. It was said that after the Sin Blood Division headquarters personally intervened, they quickly killed Yi Bufan, Xiao Huahuo, and all the Sin Blood Ascenders you had released. The Sintarant Envoy's branch had been rebuilt, and this time, an Ancestor Immortal was stationed there, making it impregnable. You learned from your memories that only 3 Vice Division heads of the Sin Blood Division headquarters were Ancestor Immortals. This person should be one of them. Afterward, you directly headed to the Chaotic Sea. There, you had buried many of your assets. 2 years later, you arrived at the Chaotic Sea. You spent another half a year to find all dozen or so hidden treasure locations. These were all hidden in extremely secluded places by you, and in just 500 years, it was impossible for them to be discovered by chance. Next, your main body continued to cultivate in seclusion in the Chaotic Sea, while your 3 Tao bodies were sent to the Burial Sky Land. After all, there were quite a few enemies in the ancient Chaos Land. Besides the Sintarant Envoy's branch, there was also Ancestor Immortal Ranyi, so to avoid attracting unwanted attention, it was better to change locations. Similarly, this time your Tao bodies, who were robbing the rich to help the poor, were not as arrogant and overbearing as they were before your revival. At that time, besides collecting resources, you also needed to build your reputation and increase your sentient thought power. After the incident of annihilating the Sintarant Envoy's branch, your sentient thought power was completely sufficient, so there was naturally no need to draw too much attention to yourself. Time flowed by rapidly, and 70 years passed in a flash. In these 70 years, your 3 Tao bodies collectively plundered over 100 billion immortal jade for you, and you naturally used all of it to expand your 108,000 miniature grotto heavens. Currently, you have invested over 1 million immortal jade into each miniature grotto heaven. Each miniature grotto heaven is no weaker than a grotto heaven opened by a profound immortal realm cultivator. 108,000 such grotto heavens, plus a main grotto heaven, made your strength far surpass others at the same realm. In addition, your divine soul power, by utilizing myriad spirits godforging and absorbing a vast amount of sentient thought power, also reached the limit of your current realm. Even the soul-cleaving sword, which possesses the characteristics of an undying ancestral object, could not harm your divine soul in the slightest. Currently, you have reached the limit of the Grand Unity realm in both the Tao of Qi and the Tao of Spirit. Even though you are only in the late stage of the Grand Unity realm and have not yet passed the 9 heavenly tribulation, your strength has already far surpassed some half-step Grand Unity golden immortals. When your 3 Tao bodies act together, they can even fight a true Grand Unity golden immortal. Currently, only the Tao of Physique has yet to reach its limit. In these 70 years, you also devoured the bloodline origin of thousands of special physiques, but it was always just a little short of causing your profound immortal body to undergo a transformation. If your guess is correct, this should be the second to last bloodline transformation. This transformation can reach Grand Unity, and the next transformation can reach Grand Unity Golden Immortal. It is estimated that it will then reach its limit. Grand Unity Golden Immortal, severing oneself to enlighten the Tao, was the end of the immortal path, the ultimate destination, when the immortal realm first opened. Later sages, overcoming countless difficulties, only then created the paths of Ancestor Immortal and Supreme Immortal. Grand Unity Golden Immortal is the limit that all special physiques can reach. This iron rule has never been broken. The paths of Ancestor Immortal and Supreme Immortal are difficult for special physiques to provide assistance. At most, they help immortal cultivators lay a good foundation, making the path ahead smoother. Therefore, you estimate that this is the second to last bloodline transformation. After 2 more transformations, your profound immortal body will be the top-tier physique in the immortal realm. A leisurely 20 years passed in a flash. After you once again devoured the bloodline origin of thousands of special physiques, your profound immortal body finally broke through the bloodline limit and began to transform. 3 years later, the essence of your bloodline transformation was complete. Your profound immortal body could continue to improve. In the next 7 or 8 years, your profound immortal body devoured billions of immortal jade and several grand unity immortal artifacts, finally breaking through to the 13th turn. You gained a new talent, infinite enlightenment. 343. 13 turns are perfected, 99 heavenly tribulations. Deluo combat power, make a big fuss in the nightmare demon sea. You can actively enter a state of epiphany once every day. During the epiphany, your comprehension ability will increase by 10,000 times. Currently, the duration of each epiphany is 30 breaths. The duration of epiphany will continuously increase as your strength grows. You were overjoyed when you saw this talent. For cultivators, comprehension ability is extremely important at any stage. Especially for the subsequent Ancestor Immortal and Supreme Immortal paths, the requirements for comprehension ability are even more exaggerated. Without sufficient comprehension ability, it is simply impossible to reach Ancestor Immortal by just grinding time. The reason you desperately laid a foundation in the Grand Unity Golden Immortal realm was because you were afraid of being stuck at Grand Unity Golden Immortal and unable to advance. At that time, you could at least rely on your profound foundation to be invincible among those of the same realm. Now with the infinite enlightenment talent, Ancestor Immortal and even higher Supreme Immortal will no longer have any bottleneck. After obtaining this talent, you couldn't wait to try out its effects. You used infinite enlightenment, and you found that the profound immortal body's speed of devouring immortal jade and immortal artifacts was too slow. You improved the devouring technique, increasing its devouring speed by 10 times. After 30 breaths, you looked at the improved devouring technique, and the excitement in your heart was beyond words. Once a day, that's over 360 opportunities a year. This is going to take off. Over the next dozen days, you made several improvements to the devouring technique, stopping only when its efficiency increased by 90 times, reaching the current immortal body's endurance limit. Next, you let the profound immortal body continue to devour immortal jade and immortal artifacts. This time, it only took 2 months for the profound immortal body to break through to the 13th revolution middle stage. Another 3 months, and your profound immortal body breakthrough to the 13th revolution late stage. At this time, your main body also arrived at a secluded spot in Burial Skyland and opened an immortal cave. 3.5 months later, your profound immortal body directly breakthrough to the 13th revolution perfection realm. It only took less than a year to reach this realm. This was the fastest breakthrough ever. Of course, this was also related to your vast resources. Otherwise, even with such a fast devouring speed, without corresponding resources, it would be difficult to achieve such an effect. Now, your body, chi, and spirit have all reached the Grand Unity realm limit. Afterward, you directly triggered the 99 heavenly tribulation. Your body, chi, and spirit were too terrifying, far exceeding ordinary Grand Unity Perfection Realm Golden Immortals by dozens of times. However, the power of the 99 heavenly tribulation is constant and unchanging, making it difficult for your body, chi, and spirit to fully integrate. This was also what you were worried about. But with infinite enlightenment, you have perfectly resolved this hidden concern. You deduced a cultivation technique that increases the utilization rate of immortal lightning by dozens of times, the lightning forging true art. To be safe, you also had your Tao body capture 2 Grand Unity late-stage golden immortals to trigger the 99 heavenly tribulation with you. This way, the power of the heavenly tribulation would be several times greater, and combined with the lightning forging true art you deduced using infinite enlightenment, it would be absolutely foolproof. On the day of undergoing tribulation, you felt extremely comfortable. This level of power could not pose any threat to you. However, the 2 Grand Unity Golden Immortals who were undergoing tribulation with you were cursing inwardly. This is a beast. They weren't even confident they could survive a normal 9-9 heavenly tribulation, and you increased its power by several times for them. Now, any single bolt of immortal lightning could strike them until they were crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. When you absorbed 81 enhanced immortal lightning bolts, your body, chi, and spirit perfectly merged into one, and your strength greatly increased. Now, even a single Tao body of yours would not be considered weak among Grand Unity Golden Immortals. Where are they? After you finished undergoing tribulation, you found that the other 2 Grand Unity Golden Immortals had disappeared without a trace. You looked down and saw 2 lumps of black charcoal on the ground, which had appeared at some point. No way, they were struck to death by this little power. You shook your head. See, this is the consequence of not working hard enough. With your current strength, you can now plan to acquire the 18 undying ancestral objects from the seal of Penglai Immortal Island. If the Hongmeng Dao Palace can advance again, your Void Destiny talent will be able to affect Supreme Immortals. By then, the threat of Su Tuo will no longer exist. However, breakthrough to Grand Unity Golden Immortal is not something that can be achieved in a short time. The focus of this realm is on severing oneself, constantly strengthening one's power through nirvana and rebirth, and comprehending one's Tao and laws. This process carries great danger. A slight carelessness can lead the cultivator to eternal damnation. If you ignored the risks, you could attempt to break through now. But with infinite enlightenment at your disposal, you naturally want to deduce a zero-risk method for breakthrough. This process will probably take 3 to 5 years. So you decided to first get your hands on the undying ancestral objects. After several centuries, you returned to the Nightmare Demon Sea. You first sent out 2 Tao bodies, one to attack the headquarters of the Nightmare Demon Palace, and one to attack Penglai Immortal Island. High-level confrontations are just that simple and unadorned. The 5 Plagues Demon God was in seclusion in a dimly lit secret chamber. Suddenly, there was a loud bang outside, followed by various screams. The 5 Plagues Demon God quickly emerged from seclusion, only to see a huge fist print outside, which had almost smashed half of Nightmare Demon Island into the sea. The various defensive arrays meticulously set up by the Nightmare Demon Palace were all vulnerable before this punch. Are you the 5 Plagues Demon God? In the sky, a figure stood with arms crossed, looking at him playfully. This person had not undergone nirvana, and his realm was still only Grand Unity Golden Immortal, but his aura was no weaker than his. The 5 Plagues Demon God said with a solemn expression, "Your Excellency, who are you, and why do you trespass into my Nightmare Demon Palace? Don't you recognize an old acquaintance?" Your Tao body revealed the face it had used in the Demon Shadow Tower, greatly shocking the 5 Plagues Demon God. After several centuries, the Demon Shadow Tower actually possesses such strength. Afterward, your Tao body directly attacked the 5 Plagues Demon God. The 5 Plagues Demon God took out his Grand Unity Immortal artifact, the Plague Fan, but found it posed no threat to you. He could only rely on his Grand Unity realm to confront you for a while. But as time went on, he completely fell into a disadvantage, until he was captured by you. On the other side, the battle on Penglai Immortal Island also came to an end. Your Tao body did not slaughter the disciples of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance as it did the Nightmare Demon Palace. Many disciples and elders were only severely injured by you. Guangmu Golden Immortal at this time tore off his upper robe, revealing hundreds of densely packed eyeballs, each of which could emit a type of immortal art. This was also the origin of his title, Guangmu. This reminded you of the messenger at the Ascension platform when you ascended from the Little Yuan realm to the ancient Devil Great World in the simulation. Thus, your attacks became even more ruthless, until you had burst all of Guangmu Golden Immortal's eyeballs before you stopped and captured him. 344. Demon Sealing Array, the ancestor of Nightmare Demon is born. Devour the immortal ancestor. Soon after, the 5 Plagues Demon God was also captured by another of your Tao bodies and brought to Penglai Immortal Island. You led these 2 into the Seal Land. Those 18 undying ancestral objects were the formation eyes of the Demon Sealing Grand Formation. To obtain them, one must enter the formation. In terms of understanding formations, no one in the Nightmare Demon Sea could surpass these 2 Grand Unity Golden Immortals. However, the 2 of them consistently refused to speak. You smiled at the 5 Plagues Demon God and said, "What, the chance to rescue the Nightmare Demon progenitor is right before your eyes, and you're still unwilling." The 5 Plagues Demon God remained silent. Guangmu Golden Immortal, however, said, "Releasing the Nightmare Demon progenitor will surely cause widespread suffering and endless slaughter. It's time to turn back. You grabbed Guangmu Golden Immortal by his collar and questioned him, am I not a person? Is my life not a life? Without those 18 undying ancestral objects, how am I supposed to live? By luck, huh? Guangmu Golden Immortal was intimidated by you and also fell silent. You looked at the silent duo and said coldly, since you won't speak, don't blame me for resorting to other means. With that, you brought out 108 sets of torture instruments. To make a Grand Unity Golden Immortal submit through torture alone is almost impossible. What you relied on was not the torture instruments, but the great soul-searching art that you had deduced during this period using infinite enlightenment. Due to the protection of the immortal realm's rules, searching the soul of a cultivator of the same rank is far less convenient than in the lower realm. Not to mention, you were even searching souls across ranks. But this great soul-searching art was different. It was a Grand Unity Immortal art that you had developed by combining the strengths of various methods and specifically targeting the loopholes in the immortal realm's rules. Anyone below Ancestor Immortal could have their soul searched. However, since the Grand Unity Golden Immortal realm was above yours, you first had to put their consciousness into a muddled state. After you applied 108 sets of torture instruments, the two of them were almost in a state of blurred consciousness. Then, your two Tao bodies began to search their souls simultaneously. After a long time, you finally figured out the secret method to enter the demon sealing grand formation, and at the same time, you also understood the relationship between the two. It turned out that the 5 Plagues demon god had always been a member of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance. Millions of years ago, he intentionally became demonized and joined the Nightmare Demon Palace to help the 10,000 Immortals Alliance monitor its movements and reduce the Alliance's losses. It was just that over time, he accidentally became the leader. What's the first thing an undercover agent is after becoming the boss? Of course, it's to eliminate those talented YMOC. This was also the reason why the Nightmare Demon Palace only had him as a Grand Unity Golden Immortal for so many years. Only Guangmu Golden Immortal in the 10,000 Immortals Alliance knew his true identity, and the two of them often used each other to eliminate dissidents, while simultaneously enjoying the resources of both major forces. They could be said to have manipulated both the 10,000 Immortals Alliance and the Nightmare Demon Palace in the palm of their hands. This situation only ended with your return. Subsequently, you used the secret method obtained from the Soul Search to enter the Demon Sealing Grand Formation. The Demon Sealing Grand Formation was filled with pitch-black devilish chi, so much so that even a profound immortal would be instantly demonized upon entering. An immortal golden immortal would probably last for the time it takes an incense stick to burn. Even you wouldn't last long, probably only a few months. After entering the Demon Sealing Grand Formation, you quickly took the 18 undying ancestral objects that served as the formation eyes, and then left the place at the fastest possible speed. Soon after you left, Peng Lai Immortal Island was lifted by a vast surge of devilish chi. A towering demonic figure rose from the seabed, shaking heaven and earth. The Nightmare Demon Progenitor, sealed for hundreds of millions of years, had emerged. You piloted your immortal ship, flying overnight towards the burial sky land. As the saying goes, life and death are destined, and wealth is in the hands of heaven. How many living beings in the Nightmare Demon Sea would survive depended on their own abilities. All of this had little to do with you. You didn't undo the Demon Sealing Grand Formation. You were merely a porter of the undying ancestral objects. On the immortal ship, you began to tally your gains from this trip. Although there were many treasures you had conveniently snatched from the Nightmare Demon Palace and the 10,000 Immortals Alliance, they couldn't even compare to a single strand of hair from an undying ancestral object. To your surprise, all 18 of these undying ancestral objects were of mid-rank or higher. The soul extinguishing lamp was also among them. There were 12 mid-rank, 5 high-rank, and 1 top-rank. That top-rank undying ancestral object was the demon-slaying stone, recorded in ancient texts. It was the bane of all demonic entities in the world. The Nightmare Demon Progenitor was among the strongest in the Ancestor Immortal rank. It was precisely because of the existence of the demon-slaying stone that it had been unable to escape, demonstrating its power. These 18 undying ancestral objects, you wondered if they could cause the Hongmengdao Palace to advance. You directly inquired the golden figure within the Hongmengdao Palace. The golden figure, which had been silent for a long time, seeing so many undying ancestral objects, answered every question. It said that only 3 high-rank undying ancestral objects and 6 mid-rank undying ancestral objects were needed to complete the advancement. You noticed a problem. the amount to be devoured was similar to the previous advancement of the undying ancestral object. But at that time, the Hongmengdao Palace was a top-rank immortal artifact. After advancing, it should, by rights, be a low-rank undying ancestral object, so shouldn't the amount required be different? The golden figure said that ever since it completed its advancement, it had been a top-rank undying ancestral object, and if this advancement was successful, it would become a top-rank supreme immortal object. You were greatly astonished. Eating one being and growing into a giant, isn't your energy not conserved? The golden figure said that this might be related to the origin of the Hongmengdao Palace. Once it advanced to a supreme immortal object, it might be able to clarify its own origin and answer your questions. This Hongmengdao Palace was still continuously advancing, with no end in sight, which was a bit frightening. But since the undying ancestral objects had been found, you couldn't stop feeding it just because you were afraid of some unknown risks. You threw 3 high-rank ancestral objects and 6 mid-rank ancestral objects into the Hongmengdao Palace at once, letting it devour them, and inquired about the specific advancement time. The golden figure was very excited, saying it would only take 300 years to complete the advancement. Upon hearing this, you almost spit out a mouthful of old blood. You would be a Grand Unity Golden Immortal in 3 to 5 years, and perhaps even an Ancestor Immortal in 300 years. The stronger your power, the stronger the troublemaking ability of your 3 Tao bodies would be, easily attracting the attention of Supreme Immortals. Without the protection of a Supreme Immortal rank, destiny nullification, talent, it would be too easy to perish. You said no, this speed was too slow. You asked the golden figure to tell you the principle of devouring undying ancestral objects, so you could tailor a devouring method for it. 3 months later, the great work was completed. After nearly 100 deductions, you successfully improved a devouring method that increased the Hongmengdao Palace's speed by 100-fold. Now, instead of 300 years, it would only take 3 years. During this process, you were also inspired, allowing your profound immortal body's method of devouring immortal jade and immortal artifacts to reach a higher level, achieving 150 times efficiency. 345. God's Immortality Secret, Hongmeng Dojo. 14 turns of Hunyuan Immortal Body, a corner of fate. Now, you are faced with a choice. Will you first let your profound immortal body break through to the 14th turn, or first let your realm break through to Grand Unity Golden Immortal? Breaking through to Grand Unity Golden Immortal requires severing the self and undergoing nirvana rebirth. If the profound immortal body breaks through to the 14th turn first, the difficulty of severing the self and breaking through to Grand Unity Golden Immortal will undoubtedly be greater. After a moment of thought, you quickly made a decision. That is, to first enhance the profound immortal body. Grand Unity Golden Immortal requires experiencing 9 cycles of life and death nirvana, and each nirvana will make one twice as strong as before. The stronger your power, the greater the harvest from nirvana naturally. Although the stronger the power, the higher the difficulty of nirvana. But you have the infinite enlightenment talent, so this level of difficulty is nothing to you. Just do it. The current profound immortal body has reached its bloodline limit, and to break through, its bloodline must first undergo a transformation. At this time, your strength is already not weaker than a Grand Unity Golden Immortal who has undergone 3 nirvanas, so finding special physiques is not difficult for you. To advance the profound immortal body to the 14th turn as soon as possible, your 3 Tao bodies are operating at full power, capturing hundreds of special physiques every day. Your main body continuously extracts and then devours the bloodline origin. In addition, you also deduce a method of nirvana once a day. Currently, the nirvana methods you possess, in addition to the Wangding scripture, the Tongtian immortal scripture cultivated by Guangmu Golden Immortal and 5 Plagues Demon God, include dozens of Grand Unity level immortal scriptures plundered from other forces. What you need to do is to create a risk-free nirvana method that is most suitable for you, based on these cultivation techniques. Because failure in nirvana results in death, you dare not gamble even with a hint of risk. The path of nirvana is extremely arduous. For example, Guangmu and 5 Plagues Demon God, who have lived for millions of years, are only in the 2nd nirvana realm, which shows how difficult it is. Many Grand Unity Golden Immortals, like these 2, only risk nirvana to improve their strength when they are about to encounter the 3 calamities and 9 tribulations that are difficult to overcome. Otherwise, they remain as steady as old dogs, not moving at all. This leads to an extremely small number of Ancestor Immortals. Even though the 10 Directions land is vast and boundless, the number of Ancestor Immortals in each land rarely exceeds 100. The total number of ancestor immortals in the entire 10 directions land probably hardly exceeds 1,000. Time flew by, and 2 years passed in a blink of an eye. On this day, you finally deduced a risk-free nirvana method, which you named the Divine Mind Undying Art. Of course, currently, there is only the first nirvana method, which can be called the first layer of the Divine Mind Undying Art. Since you deduced it based on the strength of the profound immortal body at the perfection of the 14th turn, even an ordinary 8 nirvana grand unity golden immortal using this method can almost complete the 9th nirvana with 0 risk. If word gets out, it will undoubtedly cause a huge sensation. At the same time, your profound immortal body, having devoured the bloodline origin of 60 to 70,000 special physiques, finally broke through the bloodline limit and began to transform. Another year passed, and the Hongmeng-Dao Palace completed its advancement, successfully upgrading to a top-tier supreme immortal artifact. Your life-saving ability has greatly increased. You asked the golden figure in the Dao Palace, who seemed to have transformed into an immortal master, if it had now clarified the origin of the Dao Palace. The golden figure said that it had unsealed many more secrets that were sealed deep within the Hongmeng-Dao Palace. It turned out that the Hongmeng-Dao Palace was not a treasure nurtured in the lower realm at all, but one of the 8 fragments of the ancestors of sinful blood's innate immortal artifact, the Hongmeng-Dao Field. Back then, before the ancestors of sinful blood fell, he split the Hongmeng-Dao Field into 8 parts and sent them into the 8 sin blood planes, hoping that one day, his descendants could reforge the glory of the Grand Mist Immortal Vein. Upon hearing this, you were shocked. If the Hongmeng-Dao Palace was merely a fragment and yet so powerful, what divine might would the true Hongmeng-Dao Field possess? You asked the golden figure what realm the ancestors of sinful blood was in. The golden figure said that it did not know the specific realm, but it was definitely above the supreme immortal. Furthermore, the previous advancement of the Hongmeng-Dao Palace was actually just restoring its original rank, so the consumption was not significant. Next, if you want the Hongmeng-Dao Palace to advance further, you must collect the other fragments. Upon hearing this, you thought to yourself, it seems that Yi Bufan, Xiao Huahuo, and other heaven-defying individuals also obtained fragments of the Hongmeng-Dao Field like you. You just don't know if the fragments were taken by the Sin Blood Division after their deaths. Now that the Sinterant Envoys branch has an ancestor immortal guarding it, even if you want to go to other Sin Blood planes to obtain fragments, it will be extremely difficult. It's better to improve your strength first. Shortly after the Hongmeng-Dao Palace advanced, a message came from the Nightmare Demon Sea. After the Nightmare Demon progenitor broke free from its seal and devoured all the creatures in the Nightmare Demon Sea, it disappeared. Could it be that no immortal realm powerhouse resealed him? You were slightly surprised. Could it be that the immortal who sealed him before is no longer around? You don't know where this Nightmare Demon progenitor will go after escaping. As long as you don't run into him, that's fine. 2 years later, the essence of your bloodline completed its transformation, and your profound immortal body became one of the most top-tier special physiques in the immortal realm, throughout history. You began to devour large quantities of immortal jade and immortal artifacts. 3 months later, you devoured over 100 billion immortal jade and several grand unity immortal artifacts, successfully breaking through to the 14th turn of the profound immortal body. You gained a new talent, a glimpse of destiny. You can, at irregular intervals, glimpse a certain scene of your future. This scene must be a crucial glimpse of the future, not a random scene. As your strength increases, you can glimpse more secrets of the future. You were stunned when you saw this talent. It was the first time you had encountered such a luck-based talent. You hope it can work wonders. Next, you continued to cultivate diligently. A month later, you successfully deduced the second layer of the Divine Mind Undying Art. This means you can perform the second nirvana without risk. 2 months later, your immortal body devoured tens of billions of immortal jade and more than a dozen grand unity immortal artifacts, successfully breaking through to the middle stage of the 14th turn. Your overall strength is already not weaker than a grand unity golden immortal at the 6th nirvana realm. 3 months later, your profound immortal body devoured hundreds of billions of immortal jade and dozens of grand unity immortal artifacts, successfully breaking through to the late stage of the 14th turn. Your overall strength is comparable to the most top-tier Grand Unity Golden Immortals. Without a half-step ancestral immortal making a move, no one can defeat you. At the same time, because your 3 Dao bodies have been too active in the burial skyland during this period, they have attracted the attention of many ancestor immortal forces. To be safe, you had your 3 Dao bodies relocate and enter the Demon Fall land. 346. Immortal body is perfected, advanced to Deluo. Second Nirvana, Linglong Immortal Sect. The demon fall land is full of Yemosi and demon cultivators, where the most naked law of the jungle prevails. Ordinary immortal cultivators turn pale at the mention of it, but for your 3 Tao bodies, it's like a fish in water, extremely exhilarating. You don't know why you feel this way, perhaps you possess a chivalrous chi and are naturally a bane to evil. After entering the demon fall land, your Tao bodies eliminated demons and defended the Tao everywhere, continuing to provide resources for your main body. 4 months later, your profound immortal body successfully broke through to 14th revolution perfection after devouring hundreds of billions of immortal jade and hundreds of grand unity immortal artifacts. Your strength is now unrivaled in the grand unity realm, enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with a half-step ancestral immortal. However, you have not yet undergone any nirvana. From the perspective of an immortal cultivator's realm, you are still a grand unity golden immortal. It's just that the profound immortal body, which has transformed into a top-tier immortal body, has forcefully pushed your strength to the point of being unrivaled in the grand unity realm. After undergoing nirvana, the level your strength will reach is even unimaginable to yourself. Each successful nirvana will at least double your strength compared to before. Once you complete 9 nirvanas, your strength will be at least 512 times your current strength. This is the rhythm of a golden immortal counter-attacking an ancestor immortal. You had already deduced the first 2 layers of the divine mind undying art, and now that your immortal body is at perfection, you didn't hesitate and directly underwent your first nirvana. Your profound immortal body began to wither. Your vital chi began to decay, your physical body started to age, your divine soul became muddled, and your cave heaven filled with decay. After 3 such days, you completely lost all signs of life. Even your 3 Tao bodies, which were protecting the Tao, disappeared, seemingly dissipating with your death. After an unknown period, life began to emerge from your withered immortal body. Initially, it was the sound of a beating heart, followed by the sound of blood flowing. The old skin on the surface of your body shattered like porcelain. A brand new physical body broke out of its shell, radiating immeasurable golden light, appearing like a deity. You officially advanced to Grand Unity Golden Immortal. You successfully completed your first nirvana, and your strength doubled. You carefully recalled the state of nirvana just now. At that time, you only felt an empty void, knowing your own existence, yet without thoughts or desires. This is different from being trapped in a dark space after death, because at that time, you still had thoughts flowing. Perhaps this is the mystery of cultivation, different realms offer different insights. Afterward, you did not immediately undergo the second nirvana, because you needed to adapt to the power after your rebirth. You released your 3 Tao bodies and continued to rob the rich to help the poor. At the same time, you also fought with various experts to adapt to the changes after nirvana. These changes were not only in power, your immortal chi, physical body, and divine soul were all different from before. It was like washing away all dust, becoming pure and flawless. Now, although you are only at the first nirvana realm, your strength definitely surpasses many half-step ancestral immortals. Your 3 Tao bodies stirred up a storm of blood in the demon fall land. Below the ancestor immortal, people spoke of them with fear. Half a year later, you successfully deduced the 3rd layer of the divine mind undying art. At the same time, you also adapted to the changes after nirvana. Your main body recalled your Tao bodies and began to undergo the 2nd nirvana. Half a month later, a surge of powerful energy erupted from your cultivation retreat. You successfully completed the 2nd nirvana. At this time, your strength is between a half-step ancestral immortal and a true ancestor immortal. However, it is still far from the ancestor immortal realm. The ancestor immortal primarily focuses on comprehending the Tao. The so-called comprehension of the Tao is to create a completely new law and have this law recognized by the immortal realm. Once successful, one will become a master of laws. A master of laws can mobilize a portion of the immortal realm's power, and their strength will at least skyrocket by 100-fold compared to a half-step ancestral immortal who has created a law but has not yet gained recognition from the immortal realm. Each time you complete a nirvana, your strength will increase by more than double compared to before. At first nirvana, you are comparable to a top-tier half-step ancestral immortal. Based on this calculation, you would need at least 7 nirvanas to contend with a true ancestor immortal. However, this is also extremely astonishing. There is a huge chasm between an ancestor immortal and a golden immortal. In the history of the immortal realm, no one has ever been able to counterattack an ancestor immortal with a golden immortal's body. If you can do it, you will definitely be the first person in the history of the immortal realm. After this nirvana ended, there was a small accident compared to the previous one. Your main body's cultivation retreat was originally in a remote place in the Chengfeng ancient dynasty, in the burial sky land. But by chance, an immortal boat passed nearby and was startled by the commotion of your successful nirvana. A grand unity golden immortal named Yanling descended from the immortal boat and invited you to accompany him to the Linglong immortal sect to participate in a Tao discussion conference. One step further from grand unity golden immortal is creating laws. Therefore, it is common for them to hold Tao discussion conferences to exchange insights and experiences. Moreover, for this Tao discussion conference, the Linglong immortal sect even specially brought out a rare enlightenment Tao flower as a reward for the final winner, which was quite a generous gesture. Upon hearing about the enlightenment Tao flower, your heart stirred. This is a heaven and earth treasure that increases comprehension ability, and it even has some effect on ancestor immortals. Although you have the infinite enlightenment talent, the higher your basic comprehension ability, the stronger your infinite enlightenment will be. Thus, you sent one of your Tao bodies to participate in this Tao discussion conference. To be safe, you sent your other two Tao bodies to follow secretly. Anyway, this treasure is fated to be yours, and you certainly can't let it get lost. Half a month later, you arrived at the Linglong immortal sect on Yanling Golden Immortal's immortal boat. The Grand Elder of the Linglong immortal sect is a Grand Unity Golden Immortal who has undergone 9 nirvanas. He is only a thin membrane away from creating a law. The reason he spent so much to organize this Tao discussion conference was to gather ideas and create a new law in one go. Due to the allure of the Enlightenment Tao flower, there were no less than 100 Grand Unity Golden Immortals participating in this Tao discussion conference. In addition to the local Grand Unity Immortals from the Chengfeng ancient dynasty, many others came from outside the border. This Tao discussion conference lasted for 10 days and 10 nights. Your main energy before was focused on deducing the divine mind undying art, and you had not yet involved yourself in creating laws. This Tao discussion conference also benefited you greatly. Even without the Enlightenment Tao flower, it would not have been a wasted trip. Of course, that being said, you definitely wouldn't let go of the Enlightenment Tao flower. Because treasures have always belonged to the virtuous. You have killed countless demon cultivators in the demon fall land. That is certainly enough to be called great virtue. As for releasing the nightmare demon progenitor, no one knows you did it anyway. Therefore, it does not affect your virtue. 347. Strong suppression, blood spirit rules. 4 nirvanas. After the Tao discussion conclave concluded, the alliance leader of the Tianhe alliance from the Chengfeng ancient dynasty ultimately overpowered the competition and obtained the Enlightenment Tao flower. Just as your Tao body prepared to act and reclaim its treasure, an unexpected change occurred. From the Linglong immortal sect, rolling devilish chi surged into the sky, and countless demonic path runes emerged, forming a demonic array that trapped everyone within it. The Grand Elder of the Linglong immortal sect sighed and said, "Fellow Taoists, do not blame me, I was forced into this." Was all of this a trap set by the Linglong immortal sect? Everyone's expressions changed. He, you did well. At this moment, a red-haired old man with crimson eyebrows that reached the ground and who laughed incessantly walked in from outside the hall. It's the red-browed old monster. Wasn't he in the demon fall land? Why has he come to our burial sky land? Everyone was greatly alarmed. The red-browed old monster was a half-step ancestral immortal who had created his own rules, and his strength far surpassed that of a Grand Unity Golden Immortal. Now, with the aid of the demonic array, many people's faces turned ashen. Golden Immortal Yanling also told you that he had harmed you and that if he had known this, he would not have brought you here. However, a strange look appeared on your face. Isn't this fellow the one you defeated in the Demon Fall land? The red-browed old monster chuckled. By refining you Grand Unity Golden Immortals, the rules old ancestor created might advance further, gain recognition from the immortal realm, and thus break through to ancestor immortal. You, all of you, become old ancestors' resources. As the red-browed old monster laughed wildly and prepared to attack, a familiar aura appeared in the crowd. The red-browed old monster's expression changed. This seemed to be the aura of those fellows from the Demon Refining Sect. The Demon Refining Sect, known for refining all devil heads in the world, was the force established by your 3 Tao bodies in the Demon Fall land. Below the ancestor immortal, it had made countless devil heads tremble in fear. Evil creature, why do you not submit? You directly appeared before the red-browed old monster and raised your hand to suppress him. How did your strength increase so much? The red-browed old monster was both shocked and enraged, and with a single thought, he detonated the demonic array, intending to perish with you. Your other two Tao bodies, hidden in the shadows, immediately appeared and suppressed the power of the demonic array's explosion. Ultimately, you were unharmed, but dozens of Grand Unity Golden Immortals who had come to participate in the Tao discussion conclave were killed in the explosion. Among them, coincidentally, was the Tianhe Alliance leader. You collected the storage immortal artifacts from these people and said with feigned compassion, "These items have been contaminated by devilish qi. Never mind, let me purify them." Your might was overwhelming, and no one dared to speak. Afterward, your Tao body, along with the suppressed red-browed old monster, left the Linglong immortal sect. Golden Immortal Yan Ling looked at your receding figure, feeling a surge of relief in his heart. He had merely found a random Tao discussion partner halfway, unexpectedly saving his own life. After leaving the territory of the Chengfeng ancient dynasty, you began to refine the red-browed old monster. Killing a half-step ancestral immortal was not so easy. You first had to extract the self-created rules from his body, otherwise, it would be difficult to kill him. The rules created by the red-browed old monster were called Blood Spirit, which could use blood to nurture a demonic monster called a Red Spirit. If the Blood Spirit rules gained recognition from the immortal realm, then many Red Spirit demonic monsters would spontaneously form between heaven and earth. Of course, this rule still had major flaws. Currently, it was difficult to stably nurture Red Spirit demonic monsters. The red-browed old monster had originally planned to use the blood of hundreds of Grand Unity Golden Immortals for a deeper experiment this time, but he unexpectedly encountered you, who had just undergone your second nirvana. Once the power of rules was extracted, it would quickly dissipate. But you possessed the infinite enlightenment talent, directly and completely analyzing the blood spirit rules. If you wished, after completing 9 nirvanas, you could also use this rule to step into the half-step ancestral immortal, or even the true ancestor immortal realm. Unfortunately, the blood spirit rules were too weak and could only serve as your resource. It was impossible for you to use them as your innate rules. After completing all of this, your 3 Tao bodies returned to the Demon Fall land to continue hunting half-step ancestral immortals. You needed more power of rules to perfect your Tao and methods. Meanwhile, your main body refined the Enlightenment Tao flower, and your comprehension ability increased. More than half a year later, your 3 Tao bodies had hunted more than 20 half-step ancestral immortals. This meant that you had gained more than 20 new rules. Among them, the one you were most recently interested in was a rule called Annihilation. It was a branch of the destruction rules, and once it gained recognition from the immortal realm, its power would be extraordinary. This could be kept as a backup. If you failed to create a satisfactory rule, it could still serve as your innate rule to step into the ancestor immortal realm. Of course, this possibility was very small. Another half a year passed, and your main body recalled its 3 Tao bodies and began its 3rd nirvana. 10 days later, the nirvana was successful. Endless divine radiance bloomed from your newly born immortal body, making it impossible to look directly at it. At this time, you had already widened the gap with ordinary half-step ancestral immortals and should be considered among the strongest individuals below the ancestor immortal. The half-step ancestral immortals in the Demon Fall land were in for a great treat again. 4 months later, your 3 Tao bodies went on a rampage in the Demon Fall land, causing more than a dozen half-step ancestral immortals to unite and confront you. Several days later, you were ambushed. Your 3 Tao bodies made a powerful move, slaying 7 or 8 half-step ancestral immortals and hundreds of Grand Unity Golden Immortals. Your reputation greatly increased, and the name of the Demon Refining Sect spread to other ancient Chaos lands. The dominance of the Demon Refining Sect attracted the attention of the Heart-Devouring Spirit Ancestor, the Grand Elder of the Heart-Devouring Demon Sect in the Black Cool Ancient Dynasty of the Demon Fall land. The rules created by the Heart-Devouring Spirit Ancestor were the Heart-Devouring rules, which allowed him to strengthen himself by devouring the hearts of powerful beings. Your 3 Tao bodies, each far surpassing ordinary half-step ancestral immortals, naturally greatly interested him. Upon seeing the Heart-Devouring Spirit Ancestor move against them, your 3 Tao bodies decisively self-destructed. Seeing this, the Heart-Devouring Spirit Ancestor believed that you must have a means of resurrection. After a series of deductions using karma techniques, he found nothing, which greatly surprised him. Several more days passed, and your main body, far away in the burial skyland, deduced the fourth layer of the divine mind undying art. You then recalled your Tao body to serve as your protector. 10 days later, your main body completed its fourth nirvana, and its strength greatly increased. Afterward, you no longer required your 3 Tao bodies to hunt half-step ancestral immortals. Instead, you had them search for treasures that could enhance comprehension ability in the ancient Chaos Land, Burial Sky Land, and Demon Fall Land, respectively. You already possessed over 100 rules, which was temporarily sufficient. However, the further along the divine mind undying art progressed, the more difficult the deduction became. Currently, it would take several years for you to deduce the next layer. The comprehension ability in the epiphany state was 10,000 times your own comprehension ability. You decided to significantly improve your basic comprehension ability to accelerate your deduction speed. 348. Enlightenment rises, meet the ancient gods again. 6 nirvanas, the ancestors turn against each other. 3 months later, your Tao body in the ancient Chaos Land heard about the emergence of the 3-colored divine lotus and immediately rushed to the place of opportunity. When you arrived, you found that 2 half-step ancestral immortals were already fighting over the 3-colored divine lotus. You directly attacked, severely injuring the 2 half-step ancestral immortals and taking the 3-colored divine lotus. The 3-colored divine lotus's boost to comprehension ability was even greater than that of the enlightenment Tao flower, and your comprehension ability increased significantly after consuming it. Half a month later, your Tao body in the burial skyland quietly attacked the immortal medicine garden of the Zuyan Palace of the Chengfeng ancient dynasty, obtaining dozens of vermilion saint fruits that enhance comprehension ability from within the immortal medicine garden. Soon after, your Tao body in the falling land also refused to be outdone, snatching a 5-leaf snow lotus from Snow Demon Mountain. Even with the Snow Demon spirit ancestor taking action, he was unable to prevent your Tao body, which had undergone 4 nirvanas, from escaping. Your main body continuously refined these heaven and earth treasures that enhanced comprehension ability, which were sent to you in an endless stream. After half a year of this, your basic comprehension ability increased by more than 50 times compared to its previous foundation. Your speed in deducing the divine mind undying art greatly increased. 3 months later, you successfully deduced the 5th layer of the divine mind undying art. This was much earlier than expected. You recalled your Tao body protector, and your main body began its 5th nirvana. This nirvana lasted for 12 days. After nirvana ended, your strength more than doubled based on your previous foundation. Your strength was already 30 to 40 times that of an ordinary half-step ancestral immortal. Even a spirit ancestor, whose strength surpassed a half-step ancestral immortal by 100 times, would not easily be able to subdue you. Next, you continued to deduce the divine mind undying art while simultaneously enhancing your comprehension ability. 2.5 months later, your Tao body in the ancient Chaos Land, while searching for treasures that enhance comprehension ability, unexpectedly obtained a treasure map. Following the location on the treasure map, you found an ancient teleportation array. Upon entering the teleportation array, you found yourself actually teleported to the Undersea Dragon Palace in the Godfall Sea. You had been to this dragon palace before. Below it was sealed the ancient god Witch Wu Xuan, who was said to have been taken by possession by an extraterrestrial strong practitioner. The teleportation array was located in the deepest part of the Dragon Palace, a place you had not visited before. You originally did not plan to stay there for long, but thinking that you had already come this far, you decided to see if there were any overlooked treasures. In the next half an hour, you gained over a dozen Grand Luo immortal artifacts and a pile of rare and exotic treasures. Your frequent actions of breaking the palace's restrictions alarmed the sealed ancient god Witch Wu Xuan. He remembered your aura and was surprised that you had become so powerful after he had only taken a nap. He sent out his divine thought, tempting you with a treasure trove to release him. You were unmoved. You said that you could not possibly believe the lies of an extraterrestrial being. The ancient god Witch Wu Xuan was enraged upon hearing this, stating that he had not been taken by possession and was not an extraterrestrial being. To him, you were the extraterrestrial beings. Immediately after, he uttered some obscure words like, "You don't understand the truth of the world" and "ignorant people being reared." You became interested and asked him what the truth of the world was. He, however, said he could not tell you, otherwise you would suffer the same fate as him. What he said might be true, or it might just be a trick to lure you in. In any case, no matter what he said, you would not release him. Only when your strength was sufficient to crush him would you consider the matter. After thoroughly plundering the Dragon Palace, you reinforced the seal once more before leaving. 1,000,000 grass mud horses galloped through the ancient god Wich Wushuan's mind. You're leaving, so why reinforce my seal? Are you a scoundrel? 3 months later, you deduced the 6th layer of the divine mind undying art. You recalled your Tao body and began your 6th nirvana. 15 days later, nirvana ended. A sacred and auspicious chi flowed around your body, with no hint of fierce power. This was reaching the realm of returning to simplicity, where great terror lay within auspiciousness. Ancestor immortals have 3 realms: spirit ancestor, saint ancestor, and primordial ancestor. At this time, your 3 Tao bodies, working together, could already contend with an ancestor immortal who had just entered the spirit ancestor realm. This was a huge change indeed. Next, you continued to steadily improve your strength. At the current pace, you would be able to complete 9 nirvanas within 5 years. By then, you might even be able to contend with an ancestor immortal at spirit ancestor 4th stage and above. As your main body's strength increased, your Tao body's ambition also grew. This time, your Tao body set its sights on the immortal medicine garden of the 10,000 Beasts Palace in the Divine Music Ancient Dynasty. The reason you targeted it was because it contained a large amount of immortal medicine that enhances comprehension ability. The comprehension ability of immortal beasts needed to improve to keep up with their master's pace, allowing the 10,000 Beasts Palace to sell them for a good price. Of course, you had a long-standing grudge with ancestor immortal Ran Yi of the 10,000 Beasts Palace. He had once killed your Tao body. Taking a piece of flesh from the 10,000 Beasts Palace first could be considered collecting some interest. To ensure nothing went wrong, your 3 Tao bodies acted together this time. The immortal medicine garden was extremely important. Ancestor immortal Ran Yi had even placed his immortal cave there. Of your 3 Tao bodies, 2 directly withstood ancestor immortal Ran Yi's attacks, while the last one, right in front of him, plundered the immortal medicine garden clean, making ancestor immortal Ran Yi so angry that he vomited blood. Ancestor immortal Ran Yi was only at ancestor immortal 2nd stage and knew he could not do anything to your Tao body. Afterward, he could not swallow this anger and spent a great price to find old ancestor Huangfeng, a spirit ancestor 6th stage, in Yellow Wind Valley. Half a month later, your Tao body committed another crime somewhere in the ancient Chaos Land. Ancestor immortal Ran Yi, along with old ancestor Huangfeng, found your Tao body. Old ancestor Huangfeng demanded that you hand over the plundered immortal medicine. You said, no medicine, but one life. With that, your Tao body began to flee for its life. However, after running only a few 100,000 miles, it was captured by old ancestor Huangfeng. Your Tao body immediately shouted, I surrender. I'll take you to find the immortal medicine. Your Tao body spent several days leading the 2 ancestor immortals to a remote location in the ancient Chaos Land. Ancestor immortal Ran Yi asked, where's the immortal medicine? Your Tao body smiled strangely, no rush, it'll be here soon. At this moment, old ancestor Huangfeng's Zhou Tian disc suddenly received a distress message from his sect. His expression changed, and he exclaimed, oh no, it's a trap. Your Tao body laughed loudly and then self-destructed. Your principle of dealing with matters has always been, if others don't offend me, I will offend them, if others offend me, I will definitely offend them. Since old ancestor Huangfeng dared to collude with ancestor immortal Ran Yi and act in cahoots, then don't blame you for being impolite. When old ancestor Huangfeng rushed back to Yellow Wind Valley, he saw only ruins of his sect, with a stone tablet left on the original spot, inscribed, many thanks, ancestor immortal Ran Yi. Ancestor immortal Ran Yi's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly said, this is a complete slander. Old ancestor Huangfeng's eyes turned red. Hundreds of thousands of years of hard work had gone up in smoke, and he only wanted to vent the anger in his heart. Old ancestor Huangfeng gnashed his teeth and said, my Yellow Wind Valley is gone, so why is your 10,000 Beasts Palace still standing? This all started because of you, and your 10,000 Beasts Palace must also turn into ruins. Afterward, old ancestor Huangfeng drove away ancestor immortal Ran Yi, then went and destroyed his 10,000 Beasts Palace, only then feeling much better. You were astonished to see the 2 great ancestor immortals truly turn against each other, and you also laughed. Now that fellow Ran Yi really shot himself in the foot. 349. 9th Nirvana. A corner of fate is activated, 18,000 years later. 5 months later, you deduced the 7th layer of the divine mind undying art. You began your 7th Nirvana. 18 days later, you successfully completed your 7th nirvana. Your strength greatly increased. Now, even a single Tao body is not afraid of Ancestor Immortal Ranyi. Of course, it is still very difficult to kill him. An Ancestor Immortal, no matter what, is a master of rules and can use some of the Immortal Realm's power. Their ability to escape far surpasses that of a Golden Immortal. Unless one possesses overwhelming strength, trying to kill an Ancestor Immortal is a pipe dream. However, if you complete 9 nirvanas and even create your own rules, everything will be different. After your strength greatly increased, your Tao body acted even more recklessly. For a time, a large number of Ancestor Immortal forces were ransacked. Under the leadership of Huangfeng Ancestral Immortal, the ancient Chaos Land established an organization called the Capture Demon Society. Naturally, it was aimed at your Tao body. Your Tao body, seeing that the ancient Chaos Land was not easy to operate in, went to other places. However, the Capture Demon Society followed you like a shadow, clinging to you like a dog's skin plaster, making you extremely annoyed. Wasn't it just taking a few things from them? Was it really necessary to be so petty and constantly try to kill you? 3 more months later, your main body refined a large number of treasures that enhance comprehension ability, and your comprehension ability increased by nearly 100-fold again. Your basic comprehension ability has reached a very exaggerated level, probably not weaker than some supreme immortals. At this height, most of the heaven and earth treasures, medicinal pills, and immortal medicines in the 10 directions land that increase comprehension ability had no effect on you. You then summoned back the 3 Tao bodies that had been in a great escape. Next, you prepared to go into seclusion for a period, to complete 9 nirvanas in one go. 2 months later, you successfully deduced the 8th layer of the Divine Mind Undying Art. You began your 8th nirvana. 20 days later, you successfully completed your 8th nirvana, and your strength more than doubled again. Next, you continued your seclusion. Half a year later, you successfully deduced the 9th layer of the Divine Mind Undying Art. You began your 9th nirvana. This nirvana took longer than the 8th nirvana, taking you a full month to successfully complete nirvana. Your strength increased greatly again. This time the increase was not 1-fold, but reached 2-fold. You felt that Huangfeng Ancestral Immortal also seemed to be nothing to fear. Huangfeng Ancestral Immortal is a spirit ancestor of the 6th level, far more powerful than Ancestor Immortal Ranyi, who is a spirit ancestor of the 2nd level. To verify your conjecture, you specifically had your Tao body fight him. The result was as expected, you were indeed evenly matched with him. This was only the strength of one Tao body. If you added your main body and the other 2 Tao bodies, you could even contend with a spirit ancestor of the 7th level. By the time the other Ancestor Immortals of the Capture Demon Society rushed to reinforce, your Tao body had already left. Only Huangfeng Ancestral Immortal remained in place, looking utterly dejected. The progress of this demon refining sect Devil Head's strength was terrifyingly unimaginable, doubling every few months. Would he never have the chance to avenge his disciples and grandchildren of Huangfeng Valley? After breaking through to the 9th turn, you had a sense of perfection and completeness. However, upon careful sensation, you always felt that something was missing. Perhaps it was just an illusion. Next, you began to prepare to create rules. You have over 100 rules obtained from half-step ancestral immortals. You also have infinite enlightenment. Based on these rules, creating a powerful rule of your own is not difficult. The Ancestor Immortal Realm, which others dream of, is within your grasp for you. However, in the 2nd month of your seclusion, a scene suddenly appeared in your mind. It was a supreme, powerful, and ultimate figure leading myriad immortals to battle the 9 heavens. His chi swept across the 6 directions and 8 desolations, almost piercing through the barrier of heaven. At this moment, a heaven-supporting jade finger descended from the 9 heavens, instantly suppressing this figure. One wrong step. Every step wrong, I hate it. That figure roared, but nothing could be changed. Just a moment before that figure's death, you finally saw his face clearly in the scene. It was exactly like yours. Then, the scene dissipated, transforming into a piece of information that circulated in your heart. This is you 18,000 years later. The information was brief, but it left you stunned in place, unable to recover for a long time. You knew that this should be the talent, a glimpse of destiny, at work. Why did this random talent choose this point in time to alert you? Your future self, 18,000 years later, must at least be a supreme immortal, right? To be able to lead myriad immortals to battle the 9 heavens, he should be among the top existences even among supreme immortals. So what was he hating? You felt a headache coming on. Also, wasn't it said that supreme immortals are qualified to go to the 9 heavens? Why would your future self still need to battle the 9 heavens? The appearance of the future scene made it difficult for you to concentrate on comprehending rules. Is it because the rules you created are too weak, which led to your future self saying such words? You thought this possibility was not small. This might be your future self reminding you to create the strongest rules. Otherwise, you would regret it for the rest of your life. A glimpse of destiny, talent would never act without reason. Since it chose this point in time to let you glimpse a corner of the future, then your future self is definitely related to something at this point in time. You believed your guess was probably spot on. To prevent any omissions, you even used an opportunity of infinite enlightenment to deduce once. It was fine before the deduction, but once you deduced, you discovered a big problem. That is, your immortal body had only undergone 9 nirvanas. For others, the risk of failure in nirvana increases the further one goes. But you have infinite enlightenment, so deducing a zero-risk nirvana method is not difficult. You could completely undergo several more nirvanas. There was no need to follow the conventional 9 nirvanas for breakthrough. However, you seem to have never heard of any examples of more than 9 nirvanas. There are rumors that 9 is the extreme number, and after 9 nirvanas, one cannot undergo nirvana again. Previously, you just wanted to break through to Ancestor Immortal as quickly as possible and had no thought of 10 nirvanas, so you did not delve deeply into this aspect. Now that you think about it, there are indeed many abnormalities. You specifically had your Tao body collect many related ancient texts for your reference. However, the ancient texts brought back all said that 10 nirvanas was a dead end. The reasons given were also bizarre. 350. Hurt all living things, kill Ran Yi. 10th nirvana, the ultimate state of deluo. Some said this was a heaven-defying act that would invite heavenly punishment. Some said that 9 nirvanas were already the limit for an immortal body, and continuing nirvana would be impossible to succeed. These statements were not without reason. Because what you saw were all examples of failed nirvanas. The 10th nirvana, throughout history, no one had ever succeeded. How many prodigies were there in the immortal realm? This was clearly an incredible matter. Connecting this to the glimpse of the future, it made your back break out in a cold sweat. At this moment, you suddenly thought of a person. That was the ancient god Wu Xuan. Since he could say those strange words, did he also know some inside information about the 10th nirvana? You immediately used the ancient teleportation array from before to arrive at the Undersea Dragon Palace again. You woke up the ancient god Wu Xuan, who had just fallen asleep. The ancient god Wu Xuan was greatly surprised again by the surging qi on your body. You directly asked him about the 10th nirvana. Wu Xuan said that your ability to notice this point was indeed very different from those ignorant immortal cultivators. He continued, the 10th transformation was the extreme of nirvana, and also a crucial step for a breakthrough beyond the supreme immortal in the future. If you did not complete the 10th nirvana before breaking through to Ancestor Immortal, it would be impossible to cultivate a perfect immortal body, and reaching supreme immortal would be your limit in the future. Your heart trembled. It seemed that the regret of your future self was most likely not undergoing the 10th nirvana. The ancient god Wu Xuan then tempted you, saying, although your talent is extraordinary and rare in the world, it is almost impossible to complete the 10th nirvana. He had a nirvana method left by the ancient god race. As long as you were willing to release him, he would give you this method. You said there was no need for him to worry. After speaking, you prepared to leave. Wu Xuan, however, called out to you again, saying that you had better not attempt the 10th nirvana, otherwise, whether you failed or succeeded, you would not be able to keep your life. You asked curiously, will I still lose my life even if I succeed? Wu Xuan said something profound. Will a shepherd allow a sheep that threatens him to appear? Wu Xuan's words made your heart sink. His words were very clear. There was a group of people high above, hurting all living beings. But you would never stop moving forward because of fear. Since you had the Hongmeng Dao Palace and the simulator, no matter what kind of path the future held, you would walk it steadfastly. After you returned, you continued your secluded cultivation and deduction. Only this time, you were not deducing rules, but the 10th layer of the divine mind undying art. The 10th nirvana was indeed an extreme, and the difficulty of deduction was exceptionally great. You realize that with your current nirvana experience, it would be difficult to deduce the 10th layer of the divine mind undying art in the short term. You needed tens of thousands of nirvana techniques as a foundation, to elevate your comprehension ability of the Tao of nirvana by several levels, before you could achieve it. Your 3 Tao bodies, who had not gone out to rob the rich and help the poor, for a long time, were already itching for action. Seeing this good opportunity, they all ran out and showed off their skills. Facing 3 existences comparable to Spirit Ancestor 6th level, many forces felt overwhelmed and sought help from the Capture Demon Society. When the Capture Demon Society saw the demon refining sect reappear in the world, they naturally moved in response, surrounding them again. Anyway, Huang Feng Ancestral Immortal had said that your strength was still the same, and last time you only escaped because he was careless. This time, more than a dozen Ancestor Immortals of the Capture Demon Society were dispatched. Let's see how you escape. Your 3 Tao bodies did not escape but met the challenge on the spot. You would never provoke Ancestor Immortals who were too strong. So most of the Ancestor Immortals in the Capture Demon Society were below Ancestor Immortal 4th level, and Huang Feng Ancestral Immortal was already the ceiling among them, so what did you have to fear? Your 3 Tao bodies fought against everyone for 7 days, ultimately killing 3 Ancestor Immortals and repelling the Capture Demon Society. After this battle, the demon refining sect's reputation greatly increased, and many Ancestor Immortal forces actively sent comprehension ability treasures, wanting to form a connection. You said that you now needed a large number of nirvana techniques, and if they didn't provide them, you would have to go back to your old ways. Nirvana techniques were not too precious for most Ancestor Immortal forces, so since you wanted them, they would give them to you. Thus, relying on the prestige gained from one battle, you effortlessly obtained thousands of nirvana methods. A year later, your main body deeply comprehended these nirvana methods, and finally had a clue about the 10th layer of the divine mind undying art. A month later, your Tao body accidentally learned of the whereabouts of Ancestor Immortal Ranyi. He had changed his appearance and joined the Azure Moon Ancient Dynasty of the Burial Sky Land. The Azure Moon Ancient Dynasty had a saint ancestor above the spirit ancestor overseeing it, so ordinary Ancestor Immortals dared not provoke it. But your Tao body was fearless, directly using 1,000 transformations to infiltrate the Azure Moon Ancient Dynasty, surrounded and killed Ancestor Immortal Ranyi, and then left grandly. After the Azure Moon Ancient Dynasty's Azure Profound Saint Ancestor learned of this, he was greatly enraged. What he cared about was not the death of Ancestor Immortal Ranyi, but the face of the ancient dynasty and himself. Losing this face would chill the hearts of the people, and it would be difficult to lead the team. 3 days later, the Azure Profound Saint Ancestor came to the Demon Refining Sect's stronghold, intending to destroy the Demon Refining Sect with one hand. Your Tao body threatened. If he dared to attack the Demon Refining Sect, he would definitely retaliate against the Azure Moon Ancient Dynasty. The Azure Profound Saint Ancestor ignored the threat, still attacked, destroyed the Demon Refining Sect's stronghold and the Tao body guarding it, and then left. Subsequently, your 3 Tao bodies launched a large-scale attack on the Azure Moon Ancient Dynasty. Dying and then constantly resurrecting, they wreaked havoc across large territories of the Azure Moon Ancient Dynasty, causing countless casualties. The Azure Profound Saint Ancestor was exhausted and wanted to seek peace. Your Tao body sneered, regretting it now. Too late. Your Tao body fully displayed the spirit of a desperate fighter, vowing not to rest until the Azure Moon Ancient Dynasty was completely destroyed. Moreover, during this process, there were plenty of resources to be gained, so why not? After this continued for more than half a year, your main body finally deduced the 10th layer of the divine mind undying art. Your main body recalled the Tao bodies, preparing to undergo the 10th nirvana. Before leaving, your 3 Tao bodies also pulled off a big one, using a feint to trick the Azure Profound Saint Ancestor away and destroy the ancient capital of the Azure Moon Ancient Dynasty. This event shocked many forces. Many Ancestor Immortals warned their fellow human race members not to provoke those lunatics from the Demon Refining Sect, otherwise they would really treat you as a devil head and wipe you out. After the 3 Tao bodies returned, they again fortified the secluded cultivation place into an impregnable fortress. Afterward, your main body began secluded cultivation. This secluded cultivation took a full half a year. Half a year later, you successfully completed the 10th nirvana. You stepped into the Grand Mystic Stream realm, and your strength increased tenfold. Now, it could be said that you were unmatched below the Saint Ancestor. 351. The Eyes from the 9 Heavens. 100 million fairy jades, the supervisor is coming. Open black lens bracket at the same time, in the burial skyland where you were in seclusion, astonishing phenomena such as, Immortal King descends 9 heavens, and, Chaos sows green lotus, appeared. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. A supreme immortal's eyes flickered with tears, and he excitedly said, "This is someone performing a heaven-defying act, breaking the curse of not being able to undergo nirvana 10 times. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. However, the phenomena in the burial skyland alarmed an unknown existence in the 9 heavens. A gaze fell upon you, and you died. Close black lens bracket. I died just like that." Liu Changsheng was slightly stunned. He had thought he would eventually die at the hands of the Sin Blood Division, but he never expected to die at the hands of an unknown existence. After completing 10 nirvanas, his strength had increased tenfold, almost allowing him to dominate the spirit ancestor realm. Even a supreme immortal could not kill him with just a single gaze. This unknown existence must be above a supreme immortal. The water in the 9 heavens is truly deep. Everything in the 9 heavens was shrouded in mist, and the 10 directions land did not have a deep understanding of the 9 heavens. Logically speaking, the 10 directions land had existed for countless eons and had always had dealings with the 9 heavens, so it was impossible for them to know so little information. Someone must have deliberately sealed off information about the 9 heavens, leading to the current situation. What kind of world was above the 9 heavens? This answer might only be revealed in the next simulation, or the one after that. Open black lens bracket. Simulation ended. You can retain one of the following items. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. 1. Cultivation realm at 445 years old. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. 2. Cultivation experience at 445 years old. Close black lens bracket. Seeing the options in the simulator, Liu Changsheng couldn't help but feel a bit troubled. After completing 10 nirvanas in the simulation, he was directly killed by a gaze from the 9 heavens. If he accepted all the cultivation from the simulation, would it also affect him in reality? However, he was currently in the lower realm, not in the immortal realm. The unknown existence in the 9 heavens might not be able to notice him across infinite planes. After all, who could have imagined that the legendary 10 nirvanas would appear in the barren lower realm? Liu Changsheng did not hesitate for long before making a choice. He definitely had to choose the cultivation. He had worked so hard for the 10 nirvanas, he couldn't give it up. Liu Changsheng didn't believe that the unknown existence in the simulation could truly sense him across infinite planes. Liu Changsheng only left a Tao body in place, pretending everything was normal. Meanwhile, Liu Changsheng's true body silently used the Moyan Palace to enter the Chaos Realm within the Immortal Realm Rift. He wasn't afraid of the Sinterant Envoy's branch, but he was afraid that the breakthrough would be too drastic and accidentally destroy the Bloodword Plane. After all, it contained many of Liu Changsheng's believers, who could provide him with the power of sentient beings' prayers. Upon entering the Chaos Realm, Liu Changsheng felt like a fish entering the vast ocean. For a profound immortal, the lower realm was like a small pond, with too little space. Only the immortal realm and the vaster Chaos Realm were their true home. System, I choose one. As Liu Changsheng made his choice, an aura capable of destroying planes, reversing time and space, and operating creation emanated from him. The chaos chi in the Chaos Realm seemed to be stirred by an invisible hand, forming a storm. This caused the enormous Bloodword Plane nearby to tremble. What's going on? Is it the end of the universe? The great emperors, supremes, and Liu Changsheng's believers in the universe watched as the cosmic starry sky and the 3,000 Tao domains continuously trembled, their faces filled with shock and fear. Such a thing had never happened before. Was the universe heading towards collapse? Bai Liyan, who came from the immortal realm, despite his vast experience, also changed his expression when encountering such a situation. He spoke gravely to Liu Changsheng's Tao body. This plane must have encountered a realm storm. If its intensity is too high, this plane might be torn apart. Below a golden immortal, one cannot survive in the Chaos Realm. Only the Moyan Palace can preserve your life. You must prepare early. However, Liu Changsheng's Tao body was not flustered at all. He knew that all of this was merely due to the aura eruption during his true body's breakthrough, and everything would return to normal once the breakthrough ended. In the Chaos Realm, Liu Changsheng's aura continued to climb at a terrifying speed. 11th turn, 12th turn, 13th turn, 14th turn perfection. Profound Immortal, Immortal, Grand Unity, Golden Immortal Peak. The moment Liu Changsheng fully received his cultivation, even the immortal artifact Moyan Palace, an immortal artifact, could not withstand his might, continuously developing cracks until it completely collapsed in the Chaos Realm. The Moyan Palace, after all, was an immortal artifact used by an immortal Golden Immortal. The fact that it couldn't even withstand the pressure of a Grand Unity Golden Immortal would make many in the immortal realm find it hard to believe if the news spread. However, although Liu Changsheng's realm was only Grand Unity, but, under the 10 Nirvanas, which started from an invincible Grand Unity, his strength was already no weaker than a Spirit Ancestor 10th level expert. The Moyan Palace could withstand the pressure of a Grand Unity, but it absolutely could not withstand the pressure of a Spirit Ancestor 10th level expert. The realm in the simulation was only presented in text. Only after receiving all the cultivation could Liu Changsheng truly feel how terrifying his power was. Even a slight leakage of his power could cause the blood word plane to collapse and be destroyed. The essence of the blood word plane was at most equivalent to the profound immortal level. In front of the current Liu Changsheng, it was even more fragile than a bubble. In addition to the change in strength, the grotto heavens and various Dao palaces within Liu Changsheng's body also underwent earth-shattering changes. The biggest change, naturally, was the Hongmeng Dao Palace. Other Dao palaces were pure manifestations of Dao power. The Hongmeng Dao Palace was different from other Dao palaces, it was formed from fragments of the Hongmeng Dao field. But it was ultimately like a grotto heaven, a part of Liu Changsheng's strength and realm. Its changes in the simulation would also be extracted along with Liu Changsheng's cultivation. Possessing a top-tier supreme immortal artifact would cause a huge stir even in the immortal realm if word got out. Liu Changsheng gazed at the purple-gold Hongmeng Dao Palace, which was infinitely bright and seemed to illuminate billions of dimensions, and a slight curve appeared at the corner of his mouth. It was also fortunate that the power of the Hongmeng Dao Palace fragments was not integrated into external objects, otherwise, he would have to re-advance it in every simulation. However, Liu Changsheng was curious. If he collected other fragments in the simulation and caused the Hongmeng Dao Palace to change again, would this change also be brought back to reality? At this moment, although Liu Changsheng's cultivation had been fully received, the realm storm he caused showed no signs of stopping. The yellowish-brown blood word plane floated and sank within it, like a small boat in giant waves. Liu Changsheng merely reached out and gently pressed downwards. Immediately, all the chaos storms returned to tranquility. The blood word plane stabilized once more, no longer trembling. Then, Liu Changsheng opened the simulator. Open black lens bracket detected that the host's cultivation has reached a new level. Simulation currency has changed from immortal stone to immortal jade. One simulation requires 100 million currency. Insufficient balance. Would you like to recharge immediately? Close black lens bracket. Good heavens, 100 million immortal jade. Liu Changsheng felt a bit overwhelmed. With his strength, 100 million immortal jade would naturally be within reach in the immortal realm. But now he was in the lower realm. Unless some kind-hearted immortal envoy delivered it to him. Otherwise, getting so much immortal jade now would indeed be difficult. Just then, a 7-colored immortal light came from a distant realm and flew into the blood word plane. Hu Kang, the blood word plane supervisor, had arrived. 352. The immortals in the upper realm are too outrageous. The blood department of Sin is shaken, please ask my grandfather to come forward. Arriving at the blood word plane, Hu Kang's heart was filled with excitement and thrill. It was as if he saw a heaven-defying opportunity beckoning to him. However, he was still a profound immortal from the upper realm, so he had to maintain his prestige. Hu Kang clasped his hands behind his back, coughed, and subtly released a few wisps of immortal Dao rule power. Instantly, the starry sky trembled, and the entire plane erupted with endless immortal light, as if numerous celestial immortals and Buddhas had descended, creating an astonishing phenomenon. Has another true immortal from the upper realm descended? Countless cultivators and mortals were startled. Not long ago, an immortal descended, and now another batch has arrived. Are you not going to stop until Eternal Celestial Emperor is dead? It seems Liu Laomo's actions have even become intolerable to the immortals of the upper realm. That's right, he just killed a true immortal from the upper realm, and this one must be here to avenge him. Many great emperors and supremes discussed in private, their hearts once again igniting with hope of escaping their suffering. The true immortal from the upper realm must know Liu Laomo's true strength. Since he dared to descend, he must be confident of victory. Liu Laomo should be doomed. At the same time, at the Sintarant Envoy's branch in the Immortal Domain, the news of Hu Kang's descent spread like wildfire. This usually meant that something big was happening in the lower realm. The Blood Word Hall soon welcomed several guests. These were all supervising envoys from other Sin blood planes, and they had tens of thousands of years of friendship with Hu Kang. They came to see what exactly had happened. Could it be that a heaven-defying person with great luck has also appeared in the blood character domain? Everyone came to the boundary pool, where they could observe the lower realm. They didn't see any heaven-defying person with great luck, but they clearly saw the grand spectacle created by Hu Kang. Supervising envoy who is still so fond of showing off his power. Pei Yulan, the supervising envoy of the difficult domain, couldn't help but smile at this. Wei Li, the supervising envoy of the eternal domain, said disdainfully, to actually show off in front of a group of Sin blood, this old who is truly regressing with age. In the hearts of most supervising envoys, Sin blood were a group of lowly and deeply sinful people. If they were displeased, they should just kill them directly, instead of doing these flashy things. Blood word plain. I am supervising envoy Hu Kang. Where is the Sin blood, Lu Changsheng? Why are you not quickly coming to kneel and worship? An immense pressure emanated from Hu Kang's body. Immortal light permeated, and all directions trembled. For the lower realm, a powerhouse like Hu Kang, a 10th stage profound immortal, was an absolute dominator. Countless living beings, awed by his might, knelt on the ground. Let's go. Follow me to pay respects to supervising envoy. No matter what happens, I will do my best to protect you. Bai Liyan sighed deeply. He was only a heavenly immortal and could not defy a profound immortal. Now, he could only adapt to the situation. As long as Lu Changsheng lowered his posture a bit, coupled with Bai Liyan's military merits, there might still be a chance for him to live. Of course, the hope was very slim. After all, Hu Kang was ordered to descend and kill Lu Changsheng. Hu Kang himself would most likely not let him go. Pay respects. Lu Changsheng smiled inexplicably. Before the simulation, this Hu Kang might have been very troublesome for him. But now, Lu Changsheng cast a gaze, looking at Hu Kang, who was radiating endless immortal brilliance. Instantly, rules collapsed, and immortal brilliance dissipated. A surging pressure, like a vast ocean, descended, causing Hu Kang's immortal body to stiffen, full of complacency and certainty of victory. His face even showed an expression as if he had seen a ghost. Why are you not getting over here and kneeling? Lu Changsheng let out a cold shout, like a great bell resounding, the divine sound echoing endlessly. Hu Kang's body was completely out of his control. Step by step, he came before Lu Changsheng and knelt down with a thud. No, I am a profound immortal at the peak. How can this be? Hu Kang roared and screamed in his heart. So much so that his face was distorted. Bai Liyan, who was beside him, was directly petrified, looking at this scene in disbelief. Didn't supervising envoy Hu tell Lu Changsheng to come and kneel? Why did he suddenly run over and kneel to Lu Changsheng himself? The myriad races of the universe were also shocked. These immortals from the upper realm are truly more outrageous than the last. The previous one could at least put up 2 moves. This one looked much more powerful. But after spouting some harsh words, he immediately knelt down, unable to even use a single move, right? Lu Changsheng stepped on Hu Kang's face, lowered his body, and sneered, a mere ant from the immortal domain dares to make me, a giant of the lower realm, kneel and worship. I think you are truly courting death. Bai Liyan, who was beside him, was speechless. He felt that Lu Changsheng was going against the natural order. From his tone, it sounded as if the immortal domain was the lower realm. This scene immediately caused an uproar at the Sintarant Envoy's branch in the immortal domain. There were indeed heaven-defying individuals, but Lu Changsheng was too heaven-defying. A profound immortal had become an ant in front of this person. Quickly go and invite the division chief and all the elders. All the supervising envoys panicked. This time, they were truly going to stir up a huge mess. The division chief of the branch, 5 prisons golden immortal, and 5 golden immortal elders, upon receiving the news, quickly dropped what they were doing and came here. When they arrived, they just happened to see Lu Changsheng stomping Hu Kang's head into pieces. 5 prisons golden immortal said with unprecedented solemnity, regardless of whether it's external objects or something else, this person definitely has the strength of a golden immortal. Elder Lin Hai, you are an immortal golden immortal at the peak. You shall descend to resolve this fiend. 5 Prisons Golden Immortal said to a middle-aged man who exuded an aura of authority without being angry. Lin Hai Golden Immortal, whose chi, body, and spirit were all at perfection, was the second strongest expert in the Sintarant Envoys branch. When 5 Prisons Golden Immortal sent him, everyone expressed their approval. Unexpectedly, Lin Hai Golden Immortal, who usually exuded an aura of authority, suddenly looked troubled and said, I recently suffered chi deviation while trying to break through to the Grand Unity realm. My strength is only 30% of what it used to be. I'm afraid I'm willing but unable. 5 Prisons Golden Immortal frowned, knowing that this was most likely an excuse. But the other party was an elder after all. Since he had made it clear he didn't want to go, he couldn't force him. 5 Prisons Golden Immortal then arranged for another Golden Immortal, but unexpectedly, the other party also made an excuse. At this point, 5 Prisons Golden Immortal was completely enraged. He said with a cold face, I know everyone is wary of the unfathomable sin blood, but no matter what, we have 6 Golden Immortals. 6 against 1, the advantage is with us. Even if our branch cannot resolve it, we can still report it to the headquarters. Of course, if it comes to that, everyone will be punished. I don't think that's what anyone wants to see. Everyone looked at each other, still silent. At this moment, among the 5 great elders, the youngest, Ranmo Golden Immortal, stepped forward and broke the silence. He said, this sin blood is indeed strange. How about this, I will invite my grandfather, Ancestor Immortal Ranyi, to come forward. With his old man's strength, he can definitely suppress everything. Upon hearing this, everyone was overjoyed, and even looked at Ranmo, this usually arrogant and unruly second-generation rich kid, with a bit more favor. Although this guy was usually unreliable, when it came to business, he really stepped up. 5 Prisons Golden Immortal also stated that after the matter was resolved, he would definitely request a reward for Ancestor Immortal Ranyi. He also praised Ranmo Golden Immortal, saying he was clearly a very filial person. 353. Rebuilding the Immortal Gate, the origin of the source of darkness. We must send Senior Ranyi away today. Immortal Domain, Shenal Ancient Dynasty, 10,000 Beasts Palace. An elder was lecturing on the Tao. Waves of immortal music, deafening and like scriptures resonating on their own, echoed through the square, enlightening and awakening people. Just then, a message suddenly came from the elder's cosmic astrolabe. He swept it with his divine thought, and a smile immediately appeared on his lips. Helping the Sin Blood Division deal with a troublesome matter was nothing to him. As long as it could bring the two closer, a troublesome matter was also a good thing. Only after breaking through to Ancestor Immortal did he realize how difficult it was to advance further. This also made Ancestor Immortal Ranyi yearn even more for the world above the 9 heavens. My grandson is still the most filial, I didn't dote on him for nothing. Ancestor Immortal Ranyi stopped his lecture, saying that this session was over. Then, his entire being disappeared from the 10,000 Beasts Palace, rushing towards the Sintarant Envoys branch at an extremely fast speed. Blood word plane. Lu Chengsheng stomped on Hu Kang's head, exploding it, under Hu Kang's horrified gaze. He then pulled out his immortal soul and performed a soul search. As a monitoring envoy of the Sin Blood Division, Hu Kang's understanding of the Sin Blood Division was far beyond that of Yuan Yang, the 6th prince of the Yuanding Immortal Dynasty, whom he had encountered before. This gave Lu Chengsheng a more detailed understanding of the strength of the Sintarant Envoys branch. He even gained insight into other Sin Blood planes, no longer being completely ignorant. However, Hu Kang knew very little about the Sin Blood Division headquarters, less even than the information obtained in the simulation. After instantly refining Hu Kang's immortal soul, he began to count the immortal jade he carried. There were over 1.2 million immortal jade. For a profound immortal, this was extremely wealthy. But it was still far from the 100 million immortal jade required for the simulation. It seems I still have to go to the immortal domain. Lu Chengsheng thought to himself. 100 million immortal jade, even an immortal golden immortal would be hard-pressed to have so much wealth. The entire Sintarant Envoys branch probably only had Ranmo, that second-generation scion, and the division chief, 5 Prisons Golden Immortal. But the possibility of these two descending to the lower realm was very small. Even if they sent someone to their death, they would probably only send an immortal golden immortal with no background. They couldn't possibly send an ancestor immortal, could they? However, if he went to the immortal domain, he wondered if that unknown existence who killed him in the simulation would still make a move. The simulation said that it was only startled by the anomaly and cast a glance. He had already completed his breakthrough, so it was unlikely he would trigger an anomaly and attract the attention of the unknown existence, right? If he could simulate it to avoid risk, that would naturally be for the best. Unfortunately, he was still short on money. Let's build the Immortal Gate first. With a thought, Lu Changsheng made a large amount of materials fly out from Hu Kang's spatial immortal artifact. He began to construct an Immortal Gate. The principle of the Immortal Gate was not complicated, it was even simpler than forging a high-grade immortal artifact. With Lu Changsheng's current basic comprehension ability, which was comparable to a supreme immortal, he understood it just by looking at Hu Kang's memories once, without needing to use infinite enlightenment. And as for the materials, Hu Kang naturally carried them with him. Not only Hu Kang, but Bai Liyan also had them on him. After all, the Immortal Gate of the Blood Word Plane was destroyed, and the Ascension Pulling Formation had long been dismantled. Without bringing their own materials to rebuild the Immortal Gate, it would be very difficult for these two to return to the Immortal Domain with their strength. Even if they wanted to transmigration through the Chaos Realm, they would need Golden Immortal Strength or an Immortal Artifact. If they wanted to pass through the Immortal Domain's world barrier, only a Supreme Immortal could do it. In addition to the method of building the Immortal Gate, Lu Changsheng also learned the origin of the Immortal Gate Ancient Corpse from Hu Kang. The Immortal Gate Ancient Corpse was also a descendant of Sin Blood. After ascending to the upper realm, it was subjected to various inhumane experiments by the Sintarant Envoys branch. Later, someone infused the original body of the Immortal Gate Ancient Corpse with a mass of dark blood of unknown origin, which unexpectedly greatly increased its strength, allowing it to break free from its restraints and escape to the Blood Word Plane through a cross-realm teleportation formation. Unfortunately, not long after it escaped into the Blood Word Plane, it was impaled on the Immortal Gate by people from the Sintarant Envoys branch with immortal swords. Then, the Immortal Gate Ancient Corpse, contaminated by the unknown dark blood, became the dark source that all great emperors of the Blood Word Plane feared. Until it was cleared by Lu Changsheng. Of course, many Sin Blood who ascended, in addition to being used as test subjects. Also, like Bai Liyan, defected to the Sin Blood division, serving as their enforcers and lackeys. However, most of them did so to survive. They had no choice. Bai Liyan was different, he truly believed he was guilty. He joined the Sin Blood division to atone for his sins. The Immortal Gate was quickly built. Immortal light surged, and myriad Tao of stars shone. Its grandeur and majesty far surpassed any Immortal Gate Bai Liyan had ever seen. Even from an infinite distance, it made many great emperors involuntarily kneel in worship. What did you do to the Immortal Gate, Senior? Even though Bai Liyan was somewhat numb to Lu Changsheng's performance, he couldn't help but be surprised by this scene. Lu Changsheng said indifferently, I thought your Sin Blood division's Immortal Gate was too weak, so I reinforced it a bit. Bai Liyan, the Sin Blood division's Immortal Gate was perfected by countless formation great masters over tens of thousands of years, even a Grand Unity Golden Immortal could be teleported through it. And Lu Changsheng still thought it was weak. Moreover, he could modify it just by looking at it, which was too heaven-defying. Bai Liyan racked his brain but still couldn't understand how such a terrifying existence as Lu Changsheng could appear in a lower realm. Although Bai Liyan did not know Lu Changsheng's specific realm, judging from his performance just now, he was at least an immortal golden immortal. With the Immortal Gate built, the next step was to engrave various formation patterns. Lu Changsheng's speed in engraving formation patterns was also astonishingly fast. It was estimated that he could complete the Immortal Gate in less than the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Immortal Domain, Sintarant Envoys branch. Ancestor Immortal Ranyi had arrived, but the dozen or so formation great masters of the branch were still busy modifying the cross-realm teleportation formation. The cross-realm teleportation formation, when first designed, had extremely high standards. Even a Grand Unity Golden Immortal could be teleported to the lower realm. Who would have thought that one day an anomaly would appear, requiring an Ancestor Immortal to suppress it? Ancestor Immortal's strength far surpassed that of a Grand Unity Golden Immortal, so the requirements for the cross-realm teleportation formation were naturally higher. Therefore, the Sin Blood division had to modify it. The leading formation Great Master Lin Kang said to Five Prisons Golden Immortal, who was waiting nearby, Division Chief, according to the current progress, we will be finished by noon tomorrow. Still have to wait until tomorrow. Upon hearing this, Five Prisons Golden Immortal immediately flared up in anger. Every minute that passed added another variable. Even if that sin blood in the lower realm was building an immortal gate, what if he changed his mind midway and escaped through the chaos realm? No, you must complete the new cross-realm teleportation formation today. If you can't send senior ancestor Immortal Ranyi away today, I'll hold you accountable. Hearing 5 prisons golden immortals demand, the actions of the formation Great Masters involuntarily sped up a bit. However, Great Master Lin Kang looked troubled. With the time brought forward so much, they couldn't guarantee the quality. What if the cross-realm teleportation formation collapsed midway, and Ancestor Immortal Ranyi never returned? 354. Ascend to the Immortal Realm, Sin Abyss. A prophecy. He went in. Just then, someone exclaimed, utterly shocked. 5 prisons golden immortal, Ancestor Immortal Ranyi, and others quickly came to the boundary pool monitoring the bloodward plane. Lu Changsheng's figure had disappeared into the immortal gate he himself constructed. Great Master of Formations Lin Kang said with disdain, he wants to build an immortal gate in less than half an hour. That's simply wishful thinking. 5 prisons golden immortal and the others also agreed with Lin Kang's view. After all, such matters were best left to professionals. And from the matter of the immortal gate, it could be seen that this person was brave but lacked strategy. He was in such a hurry to go to the upper realm. What, does he want to wipe out our Sintarant Envoys branch in one fell swoop? However, as time passed minute by minute, everyone still did not see Lu Changsheng's transmission fail, nor him being repelled by the immortal gate. Could he really have succeeded? How is this possible? Just as everyone looked at each other, filled with doubt and uncertainty, a supreme pressure suddenly surged from the Sin Abyss, where the Sintarant Envoys branch specifically imprisoned Sin blood, vast as the collapse of the heavens. Everyone's faces changed drastically. The Sin Abyss was a massive abyss tens of thousands of miles deep. On the rock walls around the abyss, there were densely packed cages made of immortal iron. Creatures of various races were present. These were all descendants of Sin blood who had ascended through immortal gates from the 8 great Sin blood planes. Some Sin blood planes had lower ascension requirements, where a 4th or 5th generation Great Emperor could ascend. Accumulated over time, the scale was not small. At this moment, light once again emanated from the teleportation formation at the bottom of the Sin Abyss. More Sin blood ascended, prepare to capture them. Several Earth Immortal Realm strongmen, with immortal binding ropes wrapped around their waists and bare upper bodies, smiled cruelly at the sight. Large numbers of ascended Sin blood, imprisoned in cages, numbly looked towards this place. There was both sympathy and schadenfreude. It seemed that the Sin Abyss would soon have another pitiful soul whose Tao heart collapsed after learning the truth of ascension. At this moment, the figure in the teleportation formation gradually solidified, revealing a white-clothed youth. As soon as the strongmen, who specialized in capturing ascended Sin blood, flung out their immortal binding ropes, they saw an unparalleled aura surging from the white-clothed youth, capable of striking the 9th heaven king above and severing the yellow springs below. Before this world-devouring aura, the immortal binding ropes, along with the strongmen, directly turned to ash. The aura spread out, instantly crushing all Sin blood division members in the Sin Abyss into a puddle of blood. Including several profound immortals guarding the Sin Abyss. Inside the Sin Abyss, there was dead silence. What kind of monster ascended? He's so fierce it's unbelievable. This white-clothed youth was naturally Lu Changsheng, who had ascended. However, it was not his main body that arrived, but a Tao body sent to scout. Lu Changsheng flew up, looking down at the tens of thousands of imprisoned Sin blood, and said indifferently, "Serve me as your master, and you can gain freedom." Having witnessed Lu Changsheng's power, how could everyone not know that they had encountered a powerful benefactor? Over 90% of the Sin blood knelt before Lu Changsheng. "We are willing to serve your excellency as our master." The remaining 10% were mostly those who had been tormented by the Sin blood division until they were completely numb, or whose Tao heart had collapsed. Lu Changsheng directly waved his hand, sending them into reincarnation. Being able to reincarnate in the immortal realm was also an opportunity for them. Subsequently, various formation patterns densely spread throughout the area were instantly obliterated by Lu Changsheng. These formation patterns could trap even a Grand Unity Golden Immortal for a short time, but to Lu Changsheng, who possessed Spirit Ancestor 10th level combat power, they were still as fragile as thin paper. Sin blood from the lower realm, how audacious. At this moment, 5 prisons Golden Immortal, Ancestor Immortal Ranyi, 5 golden immortal elders, 7 overseers, and other sin blood division experts arrived at the sin abyss one after another. When they saw the torn-apart ceiling formation, they couldn't help but gasp. To be able to do this in just 1 or 2 breaths of time, could he be an ancestor immortal? This conjecture was not new. The immortal gate repaired in the time it takes for a few sticks of incense, and the speed dozens of times faster than ordinary teleportation. All of it highlighted this person's power and mystery. Especially the teleportation speed. This wasn't to say that the stronger the teleportation formation, the faster the teleportation speed. The strength of the person being teleported also had to be considered. Below Golden Immortal, no matter how fast, it would still take half an hour. For a Grand Unity Golden Immortal, it would also take a quarter of an hour. Yet, Liu Changsheng teleported from the lower realm to the immortal realm in less than half a stick of incense. The terror of this speed was simply unimaginable. Fortunately, the Sin Blood Division had invited Ancestor Immortal Ran Yi. Ancestor Immortal Ran Yi was not comparable to a Spirit Ancestor First-Level Ancestor Immortal. He was a Spirit Ancestor Second-Level Ancestor Immortal. The tens of thousands of Sin Blood who had just been released from their cages by Liu Changsheng immediately felt an instinctive fear upon seeing the large contingent from the Sin Blood Division. That was a sequela formed after countless years of being confined, imprisoned, and tormented. Immediately, many Sin Blood knelt before the people of the Sin Blood Division. "Sirs, it's not my fault, I didn't want to come out," this person opened the cages himself. That's right, this white-clothed Sin Blood acted arbitrarily and was incredibly audacious. "Please, sirs, take action and punish him." Of course, there were those who knelt, and there were also those with backbone. The Great Master kindly saved you, yet you repay kindness with enmity and make false accusations. A yellow dragon snorted, exhaling white chi. A gold-winged Great Peng also spoke in human tongue. "Anyway, I, Tianpeng, am determined to follow the Great Master. Even if I die, I will not return to that cage." However, those with backbone were ultimately a minority. Most people still held the mentality of, better to live ignobly than die gloriously, and knelt on the spot. Those who wish not to be held accountable, come over to the Sin Blood Division's side. I, as the division head, guarantee that we can overlook what just happened. Upon hearing this, a large, dark mass immediately rushed over. The neutral faction, who were originally hesitant, also followed suit upon hearing, overlook what happened. Liu Changsheng saw this scene and did not stop them. Human hearts were the most complex and fickle, he had never thought of conquering everyone. Next, he still needed to collect Grand Mist fragments. He just wanted to gather some people to do the dirty and arduous work, that's all. Anyway, the opportunity had been given. If they lacked foresight and couldn't grasp it, then no one could be blamed. In a short while, the Sin Blood behind Liu Changsheng had dwindled from tens of thousands to only a few hundred. The people of the Sin Blood Division saw this scene and were greatly encouraged. Especially 5 Prison's Golden Immortal, whose mouth was practically splitting to his ears. Even fellow Sin Blood didn't favor Liu Changsheng, so what could Liu Changsheng use to fight them? "Are there any more who wish to cross over?" Liu Changsheng said indifferently. "We swear to follow the Great Master to the death." The remaining few hundred ascended Sin Blood said resolutely. That cage was absolutely unbearable. Rather than endure suffering and live ignobly, it was better to die a quick death. "Very good, you have made the correct choice." Liu Changsheng took a step forward, and endless immortal power surged out, with terrifying power of rules roaring, enveloping the entire Sinterant Mountain. Whether it was a profound immortal or a golden immortal, they were instantly suppressed, unable to move. Even Ancestor Immortal Ran Yi. He was like being stuck in a quagmire, every movement greatly restricted. How is this possible? He is actually an Ancestor Immortal. All the members of the Sin Blood Division were shocked, their faces pale, utterly drained of color. A Sin Blood plane had actually produced an Ancestor Immortal who was a top-tier existence even in the immortal realm. This undoubtedly overturned everyone's understanding. Could it be that the prophecy of that important figure from the 4th heaven was truly that accurate? A self-fulfilling prophecy. Is the chaos in the immortal realm unavoidable? 355. The death of Ran Yi, the destruction of the Sin Blood Mountain. The chaos of the Sin Prison. "You, just what realm are you?" The 5 Prison's Golden Immortal's voice trembled. Liu Changsheng, however, struck out with a palm, directly turning the 5 Prison's Golden Immortal into a ball of blood mist. He had no interest in wasting words on a dead man. Grandfather. Golden Immortal Ranmo looked at Ancestor Immortal Ranyi with a terrified expression. Now, the last hope of everyone in the Sin Blood Division rested on him. Ancestor Immortal Ranyi said coldly, to dare kill someone right in front of this old man, it seems your excellency doesn't put this old man in his eyes at all. Lu Chengsheng retorted, a mere spirit ancestor second stage, why should I put you in my eyes? Good, 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 then this old man will experience your excellency's brilliant moves. Ancestor Immortal Ranyi laughed in extreme anger. With a wave of his hand, space instantly twisted, and thousands of Grand Unity Golden Immortal Realm immortal beasts appeared in the Void Realm. Phoenix, Qilin, Baze, Teoti, Zan Nao, all were immortal beast bloodlines whose combat power far exceeded those of the same stage. Although the rules created by Ancestor Immortal Ranyi were related to cultivating immortal beasts, not combat rules. But with accumulated effort over time, the power he secretly amassed was terrifying. Enough to make anyone who underestimated him pay a heavy price. The hearts of the Sin Blood Division members beat violently, feeling a sense of relief at having escaped a desperate situation. They looked at Lu Changsheng as if he were a dead man. Grand Unity Golden Immortals were rare powerhouses even in the immortal realm. Yet Ancestor Immortal Ranyi had thousands of such immortal beasts. Most of them were late-stage and peak Grand Unity immortal beasts. Coupled with their combat power far exceeding those of the same stage, even ordinary Ancestor Immortals would find it difficult to contend with them. Subsequently, thousands of Grand Unity Realm immortal beasts formed a strange formation in the Void Realm, condensing all their power into one, and attacked Lu Changsheng. You're giving me such a great gift right off the bat, you're quite a good person. Lu Changsheng, facing an attack that could threaten a spirit ancestor third stage, not only wasn't bothered but was extremely happy. All these immortal beasts, mostly late stage and even peak Grand Unity, if captured into his grotto heaven and then enlightened, how much sentient thought power would they generate daily? It probably wouldn't be much worse than dozens of blood word planes. Lu Changsheng parted his hands, and a vortex emanated from his palms, instantly sucking all these immortal beasts into his inner grotto heaven and sealing them. Ancestor Immortal Ranyi almost vomited blood upon seeing this scene. This was the fruit of his tens of millions of years of painstaking effort, all lost at once, causing him to almost lose his sanity. The only thing that kept him clear-headed was his fear of Lu Changsheng. To resolve all his immortal beasts with one move, this person's strength was absolutely beyond his ability to contend with. Ancestor Immortal Ranyi dared not linger and turned to flee. He even disregarded his grandson, Golden Immortal Ranmo. He was, after all, a master of rules. If he was determined to escape, even a spirit ancestor 7th stage powerhouse would find it difficult to capture him. Ancestor Immortal Ranyi invoked the power of the immortal realm, ascending to the sky, almost crossing dimensional space and disappearing from here. However, a golden hand reached down and trapped Ancestor Immortal Ranyi within it. No matter what methods he used, he could not escape Lu Changsheng's palm. Rumble. Lu Changsheng's golden fingers, each like a millstone, slowly closed, and Ancestor Immortal Ranyi roared unwillingly, but ultimately he was powerless to reverse the situation and was reduced to dust. A majestic Ancestor Immortal powerhouse who had shaken an entire region, originally invited to resolve a small problem for the Sin Blood Division, unexpectedly encountered a hidden dragon emerging from its abyss and directly perished here. Heaven and earth were silent. Everyone stared blankly at this scene. Their bodies felt a chill. Even an Ancestor Immortal could be easily slain. What realm was this lower realm Sin Blood exactly? Was the sky of the immortal realm truly about to change? Grandfather ah! At this moment, a mournful wail broke the silence. Golden Immortal Ranmo knelt on the ground, filled with remorse and weeping bitterly. Ancestor Immortal Ranyi was the pillar of their Ran family, yet he had died here. If he hadn't stepped forward to play the hero and invited his grandfather earlier, would everything have been different? Your grandfather has already left, filial grandson, go accompany him quickly. Lu Changsheng pointed a finger. Golden Immortal Ranmo was reduced to ash with one strike, scattering with the wind, no longer existing. Seeing another person die on the scene, everyone's bodies trembled, and cold sweat streamed down. Especially the tens of thousands of Sin Blood who had just fled to the Sin Blood Division, they were filled with regret. Weren't you, the Sin Blood Division, quite formidable normally? Why have you become such a weakling now? As a result, they made a misjudgment and ran to the wrong place. Some thick-skinned Sin blood directly begged for mercy. Sir, for the sake of us all being Sin blood, please spare us this time. That's right, you are magnanimous. Facing these fickle individuals, Lu Changsheng's gaze was indifferent, and he directly struck out with a palm. The void realm shattered, and all things were annihilated. These renegade Sin blood, along with the elders and inspectors of the Sin blood division, all turned to dust. Then, Lu Changsheng's figure flickered, and he appeared above the Sin blood. Rumble. With one grab, the enormous Sinterant mountain, with countless formations annihilated, was quickly pulled up. Then, Lu Changsheng's hand erupted with a flame, refining Sinterant mountain into ash, which scattered across the sky. Over 1,400 members of the Sin blood division, plus tens of thousands of servants, also turned to ash along with Sinterant mountain. Of course, various treasures within, especially immortal jade, were all collected into the Huan Yudao Palace by Lu Changsheng. The vast Sinterant mountain, in the end, had nothing left except Lu Changsheng and a few hundred Sin blood who had pledged allegiance to him. Of course, the teleportation formation for crossing realms into the 8 major Sin blood planes was certainly preserved by Lu Changsheng. This was related to the other fragments of the Hongmeng Dao field, and Lu Changsheng could not be careless. The few hundred surviving Sin blood sighed endlessly, seeing the Sin blood division branch destroyed just like that. Once upon a time, they had always thought the Sin blood division was invincible. And even under the Sin blood division's indoctrination, they had truly once believed themselves to be guilty. Only now did they realize that in the face of stronger power, the people of the Sin blood division would also be crushed into mud, dying miserably. Sir, where do we go next? Gold-winged Great Peng asked curiously. First, to the lower realm to retrieve some things. Lu Changsheng waved his hand, taking the few hundred ascended Sin blood with him, and disappeared from the spot. 9 Heavens, Sin blood division headquarters. The Sin blood division headquarters was built atop a 7-story deep, inverted tower-shaped black iron prison. This black iron prison was naturally the place where the Sin blood lineage, experts above profound immortal, were imprisoned, also known as the Sin prison. The Sin prison, which had been silent for 30 million years, had suddenly rioted a few days ago, leaving the Sin blood division struggling to cope. Especially a few colossal figures, like giants, were desperately attacking the Sin prison restrictions, and the shattered restrictions transformed into bursts of colorful light and green smoke, dissipating into the void realm. The various experts of the Sin blood division headquarters were positioned in different directions, controlling the Sin prison restrictions to suppress the Sin blood who wanted to break out of prison. At the center was a tall and burly monk with an imposing aura between his brows, dressed in a large red robe. 356. The devil descends to the lower world. Gather all the fragments of Hongmeng and impact the ancestral immortal realm. At every moment, the universe revolved around this red-robed monk. One look at his demeanor, and it was clear he was a person of immense power and authority. This person was none other than the headquarters director, Su Tuo, the Supreme Immortal. Everything had been proceeding in an orderly fashion, but a subordinate, who rushed in, presented an immortal image stone, causing the usually composed Su Tuo, the Supreme Immortal, to suddenly change color. The stone recorded the entire scene before Sinterant Mountain's destruction. I never thought that after countless years, there would still be fish that slipped through the net from the Sin blood lineage, scattered outside. Su Tuo, the Supreme Immortal, did not believe that Lu Changsheng had grown up in the lower realm. The resources of the lower realm could not nurture an ancestor immortal. He believed this person was most likely a survivor from back then, hiding in the lower realm. Mo Sha, this person will be handled by you. Su Tuo, the Supreme Immortal, summoned a vice director at the ancestral rank and gave him the immortal image stone. As the highest combat power of the Sin blood division, Su Tuo, the Supreme Immortal, needed to remain at the core and could not leave at present. In comparison, temporarily deploying an ancestral rank combatant was a cost that could barely be borne. Remember to go quickly and return quickly, Su Tuo instructed. Mo Sha was a short, stout old man in a black robe, exuding a fierce aura. He patted his chest and guaranteed, within 3 days, I'll bring back his head. Another vice director, Yuan Fu, teased, whose head will you be bringing back? Mo Sha turned his head and retorted irritably, isn't that obvious? I'm a dignified ancestral rank dealing with a spirit ancestor. Of course, I'll be the one returning triumphantly with his head. Do you think he'll be taking my head straight to the 9 heavens? Outside the blood word plane, in the chaos realm. Lu Chengsheng's main body stood here, looking at the billions of immortal jade his Dao body had acquired from the immortal realm. He immediately recharged the simulator with 100 million. Most of this was contributed by ancestor Immortal Ranyi. My Dao body hasn't died after being in the upper realm for so long, so it seems that the unknown existence in the 9 heavens hasn't noticed. I just don't know what the Sin Blood Division headquarters reaction will be. Lu Chengsheng was not too worried about the Sin Blood Division headquarters. After all, he possessed the supreme immortal level void destiny talent. As long as his main body was well hidden, even a supreme immortal would find it difficult to trace him. Recharge successful. Current balance, 100 million gold threads. Do you want to start the simulation immediately? Let's begin. I want to see if I can collect all the Grand Mist Dao field fragments this time. Simulation begins. At 18, you break through to the Great Luo Extreme Realm and slay Hu Kang, the inspector who arrived via cross-realm teleportation. Subsequently, your Dao body teleports through the Immortal Gate to the Sin Abyss of Sinterant Mountain in the Immortal Realm. Afterward, you slay Ancestor Immortal Ranyi and annihilate the Sinterant Envoy's branch. Your actions caused a huge sensation in the ancient Chaos Land. All forces were shocked. The Sin Blood Division is a branch of a 9 heavens force. To be uprooted like this, who knows what kind of monstrous disaster it will invite. Your Dao body is not concerned with external matters. At this time, you have already placed soul marks on hundreds of Sin Blood followers, sending them to the other 7 Sin Blood planes, excluding the Blood character domain, to collect Grand Mist Dao field fragments. On the second day, Mo Sha, a vice director of the 9 heavens Sin Blood Division at the ancestral rank, descends to the lower realm, searching everywhere for your whereabouts. Due to your void destiny talent, Ancestor Mo Sha searches for several days but finds nothing. Afterward, he specifically seeks out Dao Yan, an ancestor of the Dao Yan sect in the ancient Chaos Land, who is skilled in deduction, and asks him to use heavenly secret arts to find your whereabouts. Ancestor Dao Yan had long heard about the Sinterant Mountain incident. The waters here are too deep, and he is unwilling to participate. He shakes his head at Ancestor Mo Sha, saying he cannot help with this matter. Ancestor Mo Sha believes he is raising his price, so he triples the reward. Ancestor Dao Yan says his deduction skills are not the strongest in the 10 Directions land, but he is the longest lived. Do you know why? Ancestor Mo Sha asks curiously. I'm all ears. Ancestor Dao Yan says it's because he is cautious enough, unlike some people who, relying on a bit of skill, recklessly get involved in karma. Ancestor Mo Sha eventually leaves disappointed. However, soon after he leaves the Dao Yan sect, he is stopped by a middle-aged Taoist. The middle-aged Taoist says he is Zanji, Ancestor Dao Yan's eldest disciple, and states that his master is simply too timid. What his master dares not do, he will do. What his master dares not divine, he will divine. Ancestor Mo Sha is overjoyed. After paying the reward, the boastful Zanji the Taoist, however, calculates nothing. Ancestor Mo Sha is so enraged that he beats him up, reclaims his reward, and leaves with a dark expression. 10 days later, your Sin Blood followers turn the 7 major Sin Blood planes upside down, but find nothing. It seems that the fragments of the Grand Mist Dao field are indeed not that easy to obtain. Otherwise, they would have been taken by the Sin Blood Division long ago. Subsequently, your Dao body personally descends to the lower realm, using the guidance of the Grand Mist Dao Palace to search for other fragments. This method proves effective. Within a few days, you successively find 6 fragments of the Grand Mist Dao field. They transform into a bell, a cauldron, a sword, a halberd, a mountain, and a bead. The last item is in Xiaohuahuo's hands on the Tribulation Plain. After being wounded by your followers, he escapes using the Grand Mist Ruler and disappears without a trace. 3 days later, your Dao body finds Xiaohuahuo, hidden within the Grand Mist Ruler, in a forbidden land in the Tribulation character domain. After taking the Grand Mist Ruler, you are about to leave. Xiaohuahuo shouts at your retreating back, 30 years east of the river, 30 years west of the river, do not bully a young man into poverty. You turn around and strike with a palm. Xiaohuahuo, dead. At this point, you have collected all the fragments of the Grand Mist Dao field. The golden figure of the Grand Mist Dao Palace tells you, most of the power of these fragments has been lost. They are now merely immortal artifacts. They must all be advanced to supreme immortal artifacts and then swallowed in one go for the Grand Mist Dao Palace to advance again. If you swallow them now, the enhancement to the Grand Mist Dao Palace will be limited, and future advancement will be more difficult. Upon hearing this, you say your strength is too weak and that you will consider this matter after you break through to Ancestor Immortal. To advance all 7 Grand Mist fragments to Supreme Immortal Artifacts would require a considerable amount of immortal artifacts and undying ancestral objects. You are now at the Great Luo Extreme Realm, just one step away from entering Ancestor Immortal. At that time, with greatly increased strength, finding resources will be easier. A month later, Ancestor Mo Sha, unable to find your trace, has no choice but to return to the 9 heavens to report. At the same time, seeing that his Dao body is safe, your main body quietly enters the immortal realm and finds a secluded place in the ancient chaos land to cultivate in seclusion. Only in the immortal realm is it easiest to comprehend the Dao. Afterward, your 3 Dao bodies enter the fallen land and begin hunting half-step ancestral immortals and spirit ancestors to strengthen the rule foundation of your main body. 357. Create the rules of all laws. 3 great opportunities, the witch searches for treasures. The rules of the immortal domain are divided into 9 to 1 ranks, from lowest to highest. Rules created must at least reach the 9th rank level to be recognized by the immortal domain, thereby allowing a breakthrough to Ancestor Immortal. Below the 9th rank, they are considered unranked. Except for a few prodigies who are not in a hurry to achieve a breakthrough with 9th rank rules. Most of the rules created by half-step ancestral immortals are unranked. With your comprehension ability, even without using infinite enlightenment, creating a 9th rank rule would be effortless. Given enough time, you could even create 4th rank or even 3rd rank rules. Since you have infinite enlightenment, you naturally must pursue the highest, 1st rank rule. A 1st rank rule is also known as a supreme rule. Among the countless rules in the immortal domain, only those ranked among the top 1000 can be called supreme rules. Even with infinite enlightenment, creating a supreme rule is not something that can be achieved overnight. However, once created, it will not only greatly enhance your combat power but also make your future path to Supreme Immortal smooth, saving you a lot of effort and time. A month later, as your 3 Dao bodies went on a rampage in the Demon Fall land, the number of rules in your hands reached several hundred. You fused these rules into one, forming a 7th rank rule, which you named All Laws. With infinite enlightenment, you had long ago found the most suitable Dao for yourself, which was the fusion of 10,000 Dao. To encompass thousands of rules within a single rule. The more rules the 10,000 laws rule encompasses, the higher its rank will be. This was the method you deduced to create a 1st rank rule most quickly. Of course, while the principle is simple and crude, the difficulty involved is genuinely extremely high. If you didn't have infinite enlightenment, you wouldn't dare to walk such a path. The current 10,000 laws rule, upon its initial formation, is 7th rank. As long as you imprint it into the immortal domain void realm, you can immediately become an Ancestor Immortal. Even without imprinting it into the void realm, it still allowed your realm to advance further, becoming a half-step ancestral immortal, with a significant increase in strength. Afterward, your 3 Dao bodies continued to transcend demonic path cultivators in the Demon Fall land, accumulating the power of rules. Several months later, your 10,000 laws rule fused another 300 rules, and the 10,000 laws rule advanced to 6th rank. Your 3 Dao bodies had, in the Demon Fall land, cumulatively killed 423 half-step ancestral immortals and spirit ancestors. This undoubtedly caused a huge stir in the Demon Fall land. Many devil heads fled to avoid the demon refining sect established by your Dao body, leading to a situation where some major forces even found themselves short of devil heads. Even many accomplished saint ancestors and progenitors began to pay attention to the demon refining sect. Fortunately, the demon refining sect did not kill demons with deep backgrounds, so it did not immediately provoke their targeting. At 19 years old, your 10,000 laws rule devoured over 300 more rules, successfully advancing to 5th rank. However, you did not intend to continue the slaughter in the Demon Fall land. Firstly, everyone who could be killed had been killed clean by you. Secondly, because your 10,000 laws rule primarily fused demonic path rules, if this continued, it would almost become a 10,000 devil rule. As a righteous path individual, using such a rule would be bad if people misunderstood you. So next, you plan to have your 3 Dao bodies go to other places and borrow rules from those on the righteous path. As fellow righteous path immortal cultivators, they should naturally be open-hearted and help each other. Half a month later, your 3 Dao bodies began to enter the burial sky land. The demon-refining sect's notorious reputation meant that as soon as they entered the burial sky land, they were jointly expelled by many ancestor immortals. The local sects were too impolite. Your 3 Tao bodies, with a fierce resolve, broke into smaller units and engaged in guerrilla warfare. At 20 years old, your 10,000 laws rule devoured nearly 500 rules, successfully advancing to 4th rank. As the 10,000 laws rule advanced to 4th rank, you could clearly feel that the effectiveness of low-rank rules below 6th rank was greatly diminished. However, the ancestor immortals who possessed mid to high-rank rules were either too strong for you to defeat or had deep backgrounds. Relying solely on plundering rules would be difficult to sustain. At this point, you thought of the Chaotic Sea. For you, there were still 3 opportunities in the Chaotic Sea. The Yellow Court Immortal Mansion, the Undersea Dragon Palace, and Penglai Immortal Island. The treasures of the Yellow Court Immortal Mansion were no longer precious to you. The only valuable thing was the Ancestor Immortal opportunity in the remnant hand of the Wangding Immortal. The Undersea Dragon Palace was the treasure trove of the ancient god witch Wu Xuan. You had to find a way to to trade for it. And Penglai Immortal Island, of course, was the 18 undying ancestral objects in the Seal Land. Thus, your Tao body split into 3 paths. One went to Dragon Transformation Island, where the Yellow Court Immortal Mansion was located. One went to the Godfall Sea to search for the Undersea Dragon Palace. The last one went to Penglai Immortal Island. The first to be found was the Yellow Court Immortal Mansion. With your current strength, the remnant of the Wangding Immortal couldn't even resist and was instantly refined by you. To have such a prodigy as a legacy holder, the Wangding Immortal must have accumulated blessings for 8 lifetimes. The second to arrive was Penglai Immortal Island. If you took the undying ancestral object, the demon sealing array would collapse. At that time, when the nightmare demon progenitor emerged, everyone on the island would surely die. So you first robbed everyone from the 10,000 Immortals Alliance and then drove them away. This way, they only lost some resources but gained the hope of survival, which was very cost-effective. Of course, they didn't think so. Instead, they slandered you behind your back, calling you a great devil head. Heroes are always lonely and misunderstood. You had already gotten used to it. You also conveniently robbed the Nightmare Demon Palace, as you couldn't show favoritism. After you took the 18 undying ancestral objects from beneath Penglai Immortal Island, your Tao body directly ran to the Fallen God Sea, where he met up with the other 2 Tao bodies to search for the Undersea Dragon Palace together. In previous simulations, the Saint Demon Sect cultivator had accidentally found the location of the Undersea Dragon Palace. Besides that, there was also a treasure map teleportation array. However, both were due to luck. Your Tao body decided to thoroughly search the Saint Demon Sect's territory first. Half a month later, they indeed found the Dragon Palace in a deep sea area. After opening the restriction and entering, you first plundered all the treasures within the Dragon Palace. Then, you pretended to accidentally take the sealed object of the ancient god witch Wu Xuan. The awakened ancient god witch Wu Xuan immediately tempted you with treasures to release him. You said you first needed to verify the authenticity of the treasure trove. The ancient god witch Wu Xuan agreed, but on the condition that you must make an immortal oath. However, you asked him to first reveal the location of the treasure trove. After much back and forth, Wu Xuan told you the location of a smaller treasure trove. 358. The Ruins of the Ancient Times, the immortal artifact of the Holy Ancestor. The second grade rules, the secret realm of 10,000 dragons. The treasure trove is located in the ancient god land of the 10 Directions land. Your Tao body immediately found an ancestor immortal force and, using a long-distance teleportation array, went there. The ancient god land is the origin place of the ancient god lineage, but unfortunately, after several great immortal realm wars, ancient gods in the 10 Directions land are now almost extinct. After finding the treasure trove's location, you discovered that it was indeed protected by a powerful restriction, just as Wu Xuan said. However, after endless years, the restriction also showed flaws. Your Tao body stayed there, breaking the restriction along the flaws. At the same time, your other Tao body went to the ancient ruin in the burial sky land to search for the ancestor immortal opportunity that Wangding Golden Immortal almost obtained. The ancient ruin was a place where the ancient immortal court imprisoned demons. Later, when the ancient immortal court was destroyed, this place gradually became a dangerous forbidden land, where even supreme immortals were at risk of falling. The ancient ruin's space is shattered, and time and space are inverted. Your Tao body entered it and spent 2 full months before finding the opportunity's location. You saw a cliff, and on the edge of the cliff grew an ancient tree, bearing more than a dozen fruits that looked like a burning ball of flame. This is the rare item Fire Scale Fruit, containing a trace of Fire Scale Law. Fire Scale Law is a 3rd grade law, so this item is quite precious. The Fire Scale Law has already been created, so if wanting golden immortal obtained it, he could only use it to exchange for some resources, and whether he could break through to Ancestor Immortal was unknown. However, for your main body, it is quite useful. After all, the 10,000 laws rule created by your main body incorporates all laws into one law. As long as it is a law, it is useful to it. When your Tao body approached the Fire Scale Fruit, the god of ruin wind suddenly erupted in the void realm. You felt that there was something very strange about this. 2 million years ago, wanting golden immortal died in the god of ruin wind, how could you coincidentally encounter it again? Your Tao body, while dodging the god of ruin wind that could harm a saint ancestor, observed the surroundings with the eye of illusory breaking. Soon, you discovered that high in the sky, there was a demon whose body was mist-like, holding a dark secluded treasure fan, constantly fanning out the god of ruin wind. The demon's strength was only around spirit ancestor 6th or 7th level, yet he could fan out the god of ruin wind that could harm a saint ancestor, which was clearly the power of the treasure fan. Could it be a saint ancestor immortal artifact? Your heart stirred, and you pretended to leave. Not long after, you returned and ambushed the relaxed mist-like demon. You used the 10,000 laws rule, and with just one move, you killed him. You took the dark secluded ancient fan and saw that it was indeed a saint ancestor immortal artifact. It seems this ancient fan is your biggest gain from this trip. Since this fan can fan out the god of ruin wind, you named it the god of ruin fan. With it, you have another great killing weapon. Afterward, your main body refined all the Fire Scale Fruits and successfully comprehended the Fire Scale Law. You integrated the Fire Scale Law into the 10,000 laws rule, which further improved its grade. Your main body also refined the God of Ruin fan and had the 3 Tao bodies use the God of Ruin fan to break the restriction of Wu Xuan's treasure trove. With the blessing of the God of Ruin fan, the speed of breaking the restriction greatly increased. 3 months later, you successfully broke the treasure trove's restriction. When the treasure trove appeared, an unusual phenomenon occurred, attracting many strong individuals from nearby, including several spirit ancestors. Your Tao body took out the God of Ruin fan, and with one flick, turned all greedy people into ashes. Then, you took the treasure trove and left the ancient god land. Your main body then began to count the treasures in the treasure trove. Although Wu Xuan said this was just a small, not very valuable treasure trove, the items inside still greatly surprised you. There were tens of billions of immortal jade, dozens of spirit ancestor immortal artifacts, and over 100 indestructible ancestral items. Besides these, there were also hundreds of rule stones. Rule stones are similar to the law gravel of the lower realm, possessing some fragments of immortal realm laws, but the quantity is much greater than the law fragments in the law sand. Rule stones are not from the 10 directions land, the few that exist were all passed down from the 9 heavens, making them very precious. And most of the laws in these rule stones are above 5th grade. If all of them were integrated into the 10,000 laws rule, it would allow it to advance by leaps and bounds. At 20 years old, your 10,000 laws rule, having integrated over 100 laws above 5th grade, successfully advanced to 3rd grade. At 21 years old, your 10,000 laws rule, having integrated all the laws from the rule stones, successfully advanced to 2nd grade. Your strength greatly increased. Now, your 10,000 laws rule is only one step away from being a 1st grade supreme law. But this step is the most difficult one. You need to comprehend a large number of high-grade laws above 3rd grade and integrate them into the 10,000 laws rule. Mid to low-grade laws have almost no effect on you. In other words, you need a large quantity of rule stones. But that guy, ancient god Wu Xuan, actually didn't trust your character and stubbornly refused to reveal the locations of other treasure troves. The Ancestor's Cave Heaven world is attached to the Chaos Realm. It is extremely difficult to kill him unless his cave heaven is destroyed. Wu Xuan, being able to be seal, is at least an ancestor. Moreover, a small treasure trove had so many rule stones, so it's not impossible that his realm is above ancestor. If he was just a bit stronger, it wouldn't be impossible for you to release him. The fatal thing is, your Tao body learned from him that he was sealed by an existence above supreme immortal in the 9 heavens. If something went wrong and you got involved, your life might not be safe. But if you don't release Wushuan, where else can you find so many rules stones? You sent your 3 Dao bodies to inquire about news in various regions. 3 months later, your Dao body found out that in the Dragon Bone land of the 10 Directions land, there is an ancient secret realm called Wanlong. The Wanlong secret realm is the graveyard of the ancient dragon clan. Dragons love to hoard treasures, and there are many good things among the burial items, with rule stones appearing from time to time. Most importantly, this secret realm is only open to immortal cultivators below Ancestor Immortal. This is undoubtedly a great advantage for you. Although you already have the strength of a half-step Saint Ancestor, you have not yet breakthrough to Ancestor Immortal and are still a weak Great Luo Immortal Cultivator. This Wanlong secret realm is undoubtedly very suitable for you. Immediately afterward, your 3 Dao bodies, using the long-distance teleportation array of the Fengsha ancient dynasty in the ancient Chaos land, entered the Dragon Bone land to inquire about more detailed information regarding the Wanlong secret realm. Soon, your Dao body found out that the Wanlong secret realm opens once every 10,000 years, and there are still over 2,000 years until its next opening. This time is too long, you simply cannot wait. Are you going to give up? Of course not. If there's no opportunity, then create your own opportunity. 359. The Dragon God Alliance compromised and entered the 10,000 Dragons secret realm. Killed the Saint Ancestor, huge gains. The entrance to the Wanlong secret realm is controlled by the Supreme Immortal Rank Force, the Dragon God Alliance. You used 1,000 transformations to infiltrate it, orchestrating a scheme to gather Cloud Dragon Supreme Immortal's dozens of grandsons and great-grandsons, then captured them all in one fell swoop. Cloud Dragon Supreme Immortal was enraged and searched everywhere for your whereabouts. However, all heavenly secret arts and search methods failed when facing you. Subsequently, your Dao body took control of several local Ancestor Immortal forces in the Dragon Bone land, making them claim responsibility for the incident and demand that the Dragon God Alliance open the Wanlong secret realm early. Other forces were astonished, wondering whose subordinates were so courageous. As expected, these forces were annihilated by the furious Cloud Dragon Supreme Immortal. Soon, you had someone send several heads of Cloud Dragon Supreme Immortal's great-grandsons to the Dragon God Alliance, telling him to calm down. Seeing that the mysterious force behind the scenes was serious, Cloud Dragon Supreme Immortal's attitude finally softened a bit, indicating that negotiations were possible. You once again controlled several local Ancestor Immortal forces and sent them to negotiate with the Dragon God Alliance. The Dragon God Alliance agreed to open the secret realm entrance early, but in addition to releasing all hostages, they also wanted to know who had planned all of this behind the scenes. You had the negotiation representative state that this matter was the result of a secret alliance among 70% of the Ancestor Immortal forces in the Dragon Bone land. The Dragon God Alliance did not believe it. Your Dao body then began to transform into high-ranking figures of various major forces, publicly stating remarks such as, "Today, it's not for anything else, just to suppress the Dragon God Alliance's arrogance. That's right, my Azure Wave sect did it. My Yellow Heaven sect has suffered under the Dragon God Alliance for too long." For a time, the Dragon God Alliance seemed to be verbally attacked by all local forces. The Dragon God Alliance was bewildered and had no choice but to believe it. At the same time, they reflected on themselves, wondering if they had indeed oppressed these forces too much in the past. Other forces were also bewildered, wondering why so many courageous subordinates had emerged recently. Fortunately, the Dragon God Alliance did not pursue the matter this time. Instead, they opened the Wanlong secret realm early, which was a great boon for them. Although the Wanlong secret realm was opened, there were strict quota restrictions. This naturally did not pose a challenge to you. You only needed to replace 3 Grand Unity Golden Immortals who had quotas. After entering the Wanlong secret realm, you felt as if you had arrived in a giant world. All the buildings here were thousands of times larger than those outside, including some towering ancient trees, which were also similarly large. Over 500 Grand Unity Golden Immortals entered the secret realm this time. After entering, everyone dispersed to various locations to search for treasures. Your 3 Dao bodies also acted independently, heading in 3 different directions. Half a day later, one of your Dao bodies discovered a 9 palaces maze. The 9 palaces maze covered an area of nearly 100 li, with black clouds and ominous lightning rolling within it. The Wanlong secret realm had already been largely explored, and this maze had not appeared before. It should be a change that occurred in the last 8,000 years. There are also some races in the Wanlong secret realm. They must have inadvertently discovered a dragon clan tomb. You captured some Yao race members from nearby, and after soul-searching them, you found that it was indeed the case. A coiled dragon named Old Ancestor Aoshan, of the Spirit Ancestor realm, accidentally discovered an ancient dragon tomb here 3,000 years ago, and after he entered it, the Nine Palaces maze appeared. The power of this Nine Palaces maze was unknown, but it subtly gave you a sense of threat. This anomaly was soon discovered by other Grand Unity Golden Immortals as well. You hid in the shadows and observed that any Grand Unity Golden Immortal who entered the Nine Palaces maze quickly let out screams, faintly mixed with dragon roars. You estimated the power of the Nine Palaces maze to be roughly at the half-step Saint Ancestor level, then entered it. As soon as you stepped in, countless Nine Palaces characters shot out from all directions, trapping you. You punched out, and all the Nine Palaces characters exploded into streams of light. How dare you disturb my cultivation, human race outsider, you seek death. A powerful and unparalleled aura rose from the depths of the formation. Soon, a huge shadow descended. It was precisely the coiled dragon who had entered this place 3,000 years ago, Old Ancestor Aoshan. 3,000 years ago, he was only a spirit ancestor. Now, he had actually become a saint ancestor. You mused, it seems the opportunity in the dragon tomb was considerable. Subsequently, you, one person and one dragon, engaged in battle within the Nine Palaces maze, and violent air currents spread out in circles. Old Ancestor Aoshan was greatly shocked that you, a Grand Unity Golden Immortal, could possess the strength of a half-step Saint Ancestor. Such a thing was simply unheard of. At the same time, he became even more determined to eliminate you. If he didn't kill you now while he had the chance, what would happen if you sought revenge later? Unfortunately, he overestimated himself and underestimated you. Before long, your other two Tao bodies arrived, and with the three of you working together and the aid of the Void God Fan, after several hundred moves, Old Ancestor Aoshan was slain within the Nine Palaces maze. This was also fortunate that Old Ancestor Aoshan had just stepped into the Saint Ancestor realm. His realm had not even been consolidated, and he didn't even have a suitable Saint Ancestor immortal artifact. Otherwise, wanting to slay a Saint Ancestor would not have been so easy. After slaying Old Ancestor Aoshan, you broke through the Nine Palaces maze and entered a massive ancient dragon tomb. Apart from a huge Yinglong skeleton, there were only two other things in the dragon tomb. A golden yellow small pool and a pile of rules stones. Your immortal sense swept over them, and you discovered that there were actually over 3,800 rules stones in this pile, making you overjoyed. With so many rules stones, your 10,000 laws rules promotion to a first-grade supreme rule is just around the corner. As for this golden yellow small pool, you did not know its origin. However, you still had Old Ancestor Aoshan's remnant soul in your hand. You used the great soul-searching art to soul-search him and learned that this was the legendary Huolong Pool of the Dragon Clan, which could help Dragon Clan members purify their bloodline and enhance their comprehension ability. Old Ancestor Aoshan was able to advance to Saint Ancestor with the help of this Huolong Pool. Unfortunately, he was a Saint Ancestor for only a few hundred years before he died at your hands. For the human race, this Huolong Pool could also enhance immortal body aptitude and comprehension ability. Your profound immortal body is already the most top-tier physique in the immortal domain, so this Huolong Pool probably wouldn't be able to enhance it much. But enhancing comprehension ability greatly interested you. You wanted to take the Huolong Pool, but found that it was integrated with the Dragon Tomb. Therefore, your three Tao bodies directly excavated the Dragon Tomb, along with the Yinglong skeleton inside, and collected them into the Huan Yu Dao Palace. The Yinglong, among the Dragon Clan, is a dragon of creation and genesis, with an extremely powerful bloodline. This Yinglong, being buried with the Huolong Pool and so many rule stones, must have had a high realm during its lifetime. Perhaps this skeleton could come in handy one day. 360. The Dragon Pond, the Enlightenment Sword. The first grade rule, the Golden Palace was shaken. Next, your three Tao bodies continued to search for treasures in the Wanlong secret realm. The harvest was quite bountiful, with several hundred more rule stones entering your possession. It couldn't compare to the harvest from the Yinglong tomb, but compared to others, it was far superior. A month later, the secret realm entrance was about to close. Grand Unity Golden Immortals from various major forces began to return one after another. When they arrived at the secret realm entrance, they only saw a large mist enveloping the area. They used various methods, but none could dispel the mist. Finally, in desperation, they had no choice but to step into it. But as soon as they stepped into the mist, their heads throbbed, and then they lost consciousness. When they woke up, they were startled to find that all their valuable possessions had been plundered. Some people were even left with only a pair of shorts for modesty. Shocked and enraged, everyone left the secret realm and went outside to complain to their elders. The ancestor immortals of the major forces in Dragon Bone Land were also greatly alarmed. The Wanlong secret realm had opened thousands of times, and such a malicious incident had never occurred. At this moment, an ancestor immortal said, "I heard that in the distant Demon Fall Land, there is a demon refining sect. Its experts each possess a soul-shattering rod, specifically used for sneak attacks from behind, knocking people out. Looking at this method now, could it be the work of the demon refining sect?" Everyone was startled and then recalled the recent Dragon God Alliance kidnapping case. Could they all be the work of the same group? After Cloud Dragon Supreme Immortal learned of this matter, he personally took charge of the secret realm entrance, inspecting everyone who emerged from the secret realm. If it was truly the demon refining sect's doing, he would let them know what regret felt like. However, after he inspected all the Grand Unity Golden Immortals, he found no abnormalities. That's impossible. Could the other party have been hiding in the secret realm all this time, not planning to come out? The answer was, he guessed correctly. After your 3 Dao bodies plundered the wealth and secret realm gains from everyone, they directly left the Wanlong secret realm by self-detonating, with no intention of meeting Cloud Dragon Supreme Immortal. Unable to find your Dao bodies, these bizarre incidents naturally became unsolved cases in Dragon Bone Land, and even years later, their popularity had not waned, becoming a topic of conversation for many. Your main body began to tally the gains from the Wanlong secret realm. This trip alone yielded nearly 5,000 Rules stones. In addition, the most precious item was the Huolong Pool. The water in the Huolong Pool was not a one-time consumable, it could be continuously generated by the Huolong Pool. Whether for personal use or selling the pool water, it was a highly profitable venture. As for other treasures, while valuable, their utility to you was far less than that of the Rules stones and the Huolong Pool, so you could sell them off later when an opportunity arose. Afterward, you used the Huolong Pool. You discovered that this pool of water was enough to double your basic comprehension ability, making it comparable to a Supreme Immortal's. The Huolong Pool autonomously absorbed immortal chi to refill itself, which, according to old ancestor Aoshin's memory, would take 10 years. If immortal jade was used to expedite the process, consuming 10 billion immortal jade would allow it to refill in 3 days. Anyway, you lacked nothing but money. The immortal jade harvested from the Wanlong secret realm alone exceeded 100 billion. Furthermore, the demon refining sect had killed countless experts in the immortal domain over the years. The immortal jade on your person had already surpassed 1 trillion. Just spend it freely. Afterward, your main body began to cultivate in seclusion, simultaneously undergoing the Huolong Pool's baptism and continuously comprehending the power of rules within the Rules stones through infinite enlightenment. At 22 years old, your comprehension ability increased by over 30 times, placing you among the most top-tier Supreme Immortals. After this, the Huolong Pool had minimal effect on you. At the same time, the 10,000 Laws rule once again integrated over 700 rules, being only a thin membrane away from becoming a first-grade rule. At 23 years old, the 10,000 Laws rule once again integrated over 900 rules, successfully advancing to first grade. At this time, on the Rule Immortal ranking in the Golden Hall Heaven, the second heaven of the 9 heavens, a new rule appeared, ranking 998th, named All Laws. Golden Hall Heaven was shaken. A creator of a first-grade rule, as long as they didn't perish midway, was almost guaranteed to become a Supreme Immortal. If they completed 10 Nirvanas, there was great hope even beyond the Supreme Immortal realm. Which major force had cultivated this Qilin child? The Rule Immortal ranking had a spirit that automatically protected the information of those on the list. To find the creator based solely on a rule's name was difficult even for those beyond the Supreme Immortal realm. Unless that person voluntarily stepped forward, it would be very difficult to find them. After the 10,000 Laws rule advanced to first grade, you did not immediately brand it into the immortal domain Void Realm. After a rule is branded into the Void Realm, the difficulty of modifying it increases dozens of times. You still had over 3,000 Rules stones in your possession, you couldn't just let them go to waste, could you? Continue to devour and strengthen. At 24 years old, your 10,000 laws rule once again integrated over 1,000 rules. On the Golden Hall Heaven's Rule Immortal ranking, the 10,000 laws rule had already reached 852nd place. Everyone was shocked again. You weren't satisfied with creating a first-grade rule, and you could even rise over 100 ranks in just 1 year. You're going to ascend to the heavens. At 25 years old, your 10,000 laws rule continued to integrate over 1,000 rules. The ranking of the 10,000 laws rule on the Rule Immortal ranking increased again, reaching 783rd place. At this time, a being beyond the supreme immortal realm in Golden Hall Heaven came out to explain that this was absolutely not a rule created by a grand unity golden immortal, but rather a powerful rule created by a certain supreme giant who had accumulated profound knowledge. Everyone understood. No wonder the ranking changed so rapidly, it was a rule created by a supreme giant. At 26 years old, you integrated all the rules from the rules stones into the 10,000 laws rule. Your 10,000 laws rules ranking on the Golden Hall Heaven's Rule Immortal ranking reached 691st place. The people of Golden Hall Heaven were no longer surprised. A supreme giant, well, understood. Among the top 1,000 in the immortal domain, more than half of the rules that could make it onto the Rule Immortal ranking were innate rules, not human creations. The 10,000 laws rule had now even trampled some innate rules underfoot. The beings of Golden Hall Heaven were curious. How far could this 10,000 laws rule go? At this time, cultivating in seclusion in the 10 directions land, you felt that the 10,000 laws rule had become terrifyingly powerful. At full power, it could at least increase your strength by 15 to 20 times. Although you were currently only at the Grand Unity Golden Immortal Peak, your strength was already comparable to experts at the second or third stage of Ancestor Immortal. When you next break through to Ancestor Immortal, who knew what earth-shattering changes your strength would undergo? The rule stones had been used up, and it would be difficult to find more in a short time. You believed that the 10,000 laws rule you created was not weak among first-grade rules. As for reaching the pinnacle of first-grade rules, it would be difficult to achieve even with abundant rule stones. This was because the top 10 rules were taboo powers that even supreme immortals had to avoid. Without sufficient strength, it was difficult to achieve them solely through comprehension ability. Afterward, you began to brand the 10,000 laws rule into the immortal domain void realm.